You know that paper is more sophisticated now than computers.
Thank you so much. Hold on. I'm just trying to hold on real quick. I'm just trying to find my sometimes it's hard to find my stream. There it goes. Okay. I couldn't find the live on YouTube. It's like it says I'm live, but I'm not here. There we go. It's like other people are in my live and I can't find my own live. YouTube's a crazy book. Almost there. Almost there. It's so much fun today on Steve's live this morning. If you were there, it was I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's tough day. It's a tough day, but spending it with you guys always makes things better. I know it was a good show this morning. Good vibes, like just good vibes. I was kind of, some of you know who were there. I haven't I've kind of been up on it. I've been reading a lot of economic papers and things like that. And, I was like, oh, this day could be very depressing online, but like we had the best time this morning all together. It's just community makes everything better. Like that's the beauty of I'm learning, I used to think being vulnerable made me weak. And it's like the more you let people see who you are and you have a community of people around you, the easier it is to handle tough days. It's amazing. Why did anyone tell me that when I was a kid? Would stop pushing everyone out of my life for the first 30 years. Like, what do you know? Give me 1 second. Almost there. So much to talk about today. I basically made two lives. Like, I made a live last night, like a outline last night. And then when I saw, after I was done with Steve's live and I was looking at what was happening, I mean, the Trump I don't know what you want to call it, just the full-time gaslighting machine that is going on in the media to try to be like, oh, what every single economist in the world is saying is happening when you log into your retirement accounts and see that you have lost money, that's not real. I'm gonna let Howard Nutlick gaslight you for 5 hours. I'm fascinated by watching them try to be like, none of this is happening. Just let us rob you. Shh. Just sit there and let us steal from you. It's fine. And if you complain too loud, then you're the fraud. Amen, Sarah. Vulnerability is strength. Could not agree more. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm just reading a text message. Why are men so mean? What? I feel like I needed to do something right now. I'm forgetting to do one thing. Okay, YouTube, we got Twitch, got this set up. Oh, that's it. Gift goal. I got one more thing to do. I got to reset the gift goal. I just remembered because it was broken. Gotcha. Look at me remembering things. Oh no, did the battery fail? Something, I might have to get a new keyboard. And I love this purple keyboard, but for some reason it's just not working. Okay, there we go. And one more thing. Okay, here we go. Am I on Sky? Oh yeah, I've heard a couple people mentioning it. Yeah, Skylight Social, which is a social media site which is essentially owned by women. And I don't know if you remember. Why can't I hear? Hold on, something is wrong. No, I can't hear. Okay, there it goes. Sorry, I need to adjust my audio. I couldn't hear myself in my ears. There we go. Now I can hear myself fine. Okay, yeah. So a while back when the first time when TikTok was disappearing from the internet, we were all full of anxiety. And, well, you guys don't hang out on X, but there was a bunch of people on X who were asking why do I want to say Mark Zuckerberg, not Mark Zuckerberg, Mark Cuban on X. And they're like, hey, we don't, if TikTok is bought by Elon Musk or someone similar who's going to, or like, I can't even remember who the CEO of Google, they're like, if it's acquired and they change it to be like the algorithms of YouTube or X, it will ruin it. Like, we need a social media company, and an algorithm that, is similar and preserves like the way that TikTok is run, and Mark Cuban basically was like, hey, if you're an engineer, if you are a programmer and you can build off the stack that Jack Dorsey is using for Blue Sky, because that's what it is. Jack Dorsey didn't just create Blue Sky. He built this like stack that can be built upon. It's like the basis for other social media companies to then spring up and be used, right? It's like a door to a whole bunch of different social media companies possibly. And Mark Cuban's like, if you understand that technology and you can do it, like, let me know. I'd fund somebody. So I imagine he's probably has a few ventures, but one of them is Skylight Social, which is owned by women, I believe, or I'm not sure. I haven't read exactly about who these women are or what they're doing. But it's built off the Blue Sky stack. So it's really cool so if you already have a Blue Sky account, you can download Skylight Social. Then you can just like log in with your Blue Sky login, and your content will be, when I say it's built off the Blue Sky stack, that's what I mean. Like, Blue Sky is not just a social media company. It's a stack of which other social media companies can be built off of. So that's what Skylight Social is. It's Mark Cuban. Well, it's one of the iterations. I mean, he's a capitalist, so I'm sure he probably is, he's a venture capitalist, so I'm sure he probably will invest in multiple different options, because you never know which one will take off. I have heard a few people now talking about Skylight Social. So, and it's like I said, it's not like you have to do all this stuff and create a whole new profile. Like, you literally just download the app and then you can use your Blue Sky login and log in there. So I did that yesterday, and I haven't looked. I'm not sure if like now every time if I upload content on Blue Sky, if that automatically goes to Skylight. I'm not sure how it all works, but I'm doing it again. Someone was asking if I was on Skylight Social or I knew what it was. So yes, I have heard about it, and I do like the convenience of everything built off that original Blue Jack Dorsey stack. Will have like very seamless functionality. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, create a whole new page and manage it, because it's like, how many social media accounts could we all be on? So yes, I did log in to I downloaded Skylight Social and logged in. I like the looking good, and I am there. So yes, because I am interested in supporting women, women creating a social media company. Like, if we're looking for someone who's going to preserve, something similar to TikTok, who better than women? Keep tapping the screen. Whoa, we're already at 15,000. Great. We're only 10,000 from 25K. I feel like, okay, updated the gift goal. Oh, that's what next. Jeremy, thank you for the $5. Is this from your school voucher? Thank you, everyone. When you guys finally get your school vouchers. Someone on Fax is live this morning. He's running for Congress in I think New York 23. I might have got that wrong. Some district, one of the districts in around the Buffalo area. And he was saying that he's a proponent of adult education and I was like, I feel like that's what I'm doing. And I was like, yep, let's get some school vouchers for adults. Hey Wayne, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for sharing the live, Wayne. Have I heard of Eric Adams? You mean the guy? Yeah, I mean, I read it in October. I read his every court document aloud on this app. Yeah, I'm very aware of Eric Adams. Am I aware his case was finally dismissed? It was dismissed a month ago. It was just they were going through these kind of formal processes to get it dismissed. dismissed, and now it finally happened. But yeah, I'm very aware of Eric Adams, who's basically now like a puppet of Trump, like because it's dismissed without prejudice. So Eric Adams now basically is a full-time employee of Donald Trump, and anytime he falls out of line, Trump could just bring those charges back up. So yeah, Eric Adams is, oh my God, cool. I've never seen that before. That was cool. Got to the coffee talk. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started. Pretty soon, none of us are going to be able to, we're all going to be tea drinkers soon. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think I don't know. I could make, Lahua, miss you so much. Thank you for the super chat. Sorry I'm late, Felice and friends. You're the best, Lahua. It's great to see you. Thanks for always having such good vibes on YouTube. It is always much, much appreciated. The judge said they cannot bring the charges back up. What, it's dismissed with prejudice now? When was that? Here, let me just look into, well, I don't know if I have time to look into this. Well, that's good, actually. I mean, well, let me be clear about something. It's not good. I have to think about that, actually, because I'm just thinking in real time. And like I said, I'm on little sleep. Like, I don't want Eric Adams being blackmailed by Trump because I think that will effectively hurt immigrants and New York City citizens, right? They're going to use Eric Adams to get to hurt the state of New York because Trump's bitter about his 34 felony connections. So I don't want Eric Adams being a conduit, to that, to hurt New York citizens. But the reason I took so long, I have a stack of like 100 pages of every court document, is because that man is guilty of sin. Like, this is not like, oh, Billy said, Sam said that Eric did something wrong. It's a financial crime of absolute you know what I mean? That's why all those how many 5 prosecutors resigned, because they're like, this man's guilty, and they've seen more evidence than I've seen, and I know he's guilty from just the original indictment. And anybody that says otherwise, I know you can't read, because it is not like, oh, this is some hearsay and we gotta have a jury debate if this happened. It's like, yeah, here is the financial paper trail of crimes laid out. I always said it reads like a literal crime novel. It's fascinating and sickening is probably more accurate. Hello, Kimberly Kitten on Twitch. I like that. I love alliteration. Thanks for being here. Okay, we got to get this party started. So, like I said, I have 2 different presentations. Guilty as sin, Master John. Absolutely. Guilty. I mean, I am saying, if you are going to read oh, I need to read a crime novel. I love a good thriller. Just read the Eric Adams indictment. You've never read anything like what Eric Adams has been up to. That man is absolutely ridiculous. And just the way he has the nerve to sit there on TV and be like, I didn't do anything. It's like, imagine that sort of arrogance when it's like all of these documents are publicly available. All people have to do is read it. That's how, he's Trump Jr. Like, that type of bold face, have the decency to slink away into the shadows. He's just like, I didn't do anything. I'm still here. Is he going to run again? Is he given up on that? Is he still going with I'm just going to be mayor again? What the... I love the guy that's running against him, but I didn't know. Did he ever drop out yet? He is running. Oh my God. See, narcissist. It takes a special type. It takes a special type. Yeah. Oh my God. But I have faith. If there's one thing I've noticed since watching, I briefly lived in New York City for work, but also just from watching New Yorkers stand up to Trump, I have every faith in the people of New York that they are the ultimate bullshit detector. So, you know what I'm saying? The people of New York will deal with you, Eric. I think they're on to you, just like they've been on to Trump for decades, longer than anyone else. I think you can't get much past people of New York. Oh, I know. I heard about Cuomo. It's like, are we serious? Are we, I mean, it's not worst case scenario, but are we really going back to Cuomo? Chris Cuomo is on my last nerve, like on News Nation. Ugh, like I don't. Tap that screen. Thank you, Dust Bunny. Okay. And real quick, Catherine, thank you so much for the $10 for your tuition. It is noted. School is now in session. I wanted to play this quick video just to remind us, because obviously we are in the mess we are in now, which I was going to say in America, but I think we can now officially say everyone in the world is now in this mess together thanks to Donald Trump. Even there are penguins on an island somewhere who are being unfairly punished because Donald Trump is out of his mind and probably used Chat GPT to decide like how to make his tariff policy. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I truly believe, I don't think he did it. I think whoever Trump trusts used Chat GPT to come up with that tariff policy. Because you can literally ask Chat GPT, what's the best way for me to come up with tariff rates and stuff, and they will spit out the exact, which that's not how you make tariff rates, period. So that's why everyone's like, how did you come up with these numbers? And like, that's why I was up all night, because I was watching like economists, mathematicians discuss like, this has nothing to do with how you set tariff rates and like, what is this? And it turns out, no, it's just trade deficit divided by imports, which is, makes no sense. And I mean, I could give a million reasons why it makes no sense, but that makes no sense. Like watching, oh my God, I'll show you guys. We can get into it later. But I just, what is this account again? Oh yeah, this is an account called Accountable GOP. I just know that they changed they used to have a different logo, but it's called Accountable GOP, at Accountable GOP, Republican Accountability. They're kind of like one of those never Trumper accounts that split off. And they have this great reel of Republicans talking about tariffs. And mind you, these were like Trump's first tariffs. Now these tariffs that were enacted yesterday, that's why, the reason the markets, you're seeing this swing is because nobody in their wildest dreams thought he would do something so crazy, something outside of reality that he did, and that's what you're seeing is people being like, oh yeah, worst case scenario, this was not forecasted, so that's why we're seeing this reaction. Let me see. Is this muted? Hold on. Okay. So watch this compilation, because it's just a great example of Democratic hypocrisy. The hypocrisy knows no bounds with the Republicans.
Tariff is a tax on Americans. A tariff isn't paid by the exporter. China's not going to pay the tariff. The buyer is going to pay the tariff.
Donald Trump has proposed a 40% tariff, which is a tax on all of you. I think raising your taxes by 40% would kill jobs all across this country.
I have never agreed with the president's tariff policy, and that's why I do call him and I say, Mr. President, I need to talk to you about these tariffs. And he will come back and he'll say, oh, Joni, I know that you don't like tariffs, but I'm a tariff guy.
Taxing European car imports hurts BMW because they can do the same thing to us. China wins when we fight with Europe. China wins when the American consumer has higher prices because of tariffs that don't affect Chinese behavior.
Now with a 10% tariff laid down, who pays that tariff? The American workers and the American companies pay the brunt of all those. So far, Americans have paid $12 billion in tariffs. It's not punishing the Chinese, it's punishing us.
The highest tariff levels in the history of this country, the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, were enacted, and it shut down world trade. There's little doubt that these protectionist barriers that were put up in 1930 or 31 made the Great Depression worse. So let's not repeat that mistake.
I hope that our administration is looking at ways to expand and grow opportunities for American businesses and farmers and ranchers, and not get us into this tit-for-tat trade war with some of these countries, even China.
A generalized tariff that would actually harm allies, harm American consumers, by the way, And again, if we start engaging in trade wars, I just don't believe anybody wins a trade war, quite honestly. I just think there's so much collateral damage. I think it's a very risky and dangerous strategy.
I'm much more of a free trader. I have worry about retaliation against our products that certainly we have a lot of in Wyoming. So I'm focused on the businesses here at home, the impact of trade, and the impact of tariffs, which I have concerns about, and specifically the retaliation that may come as a result of this new announcement.
Strong trade relationships, particularly with Canada and Mexico, are primary drivers of our nation's economy. We must protect those relationships and be careful as we consider changes in our approach to trade to be certain that Americans continue to benefit from the economic opportunities that have created by a strong trade policy.
The tariff.
So, I mean, this is a compilation from the past. Like, so whenever, and I talk about this like this morning on Steve's Live, like their backs must hurt from moving the goalposts. When Trump was running for president, we were still on this. This is from before the last presidential. Well, I would say probably 75% of these clips were. So these people know very well that tariffs are a tax on Americans. One of the prospectuses I was reading last night, the reason I haven't slept yet, I was reading JP Morgan's perspective. I've never seen financial analysts so confused and quite clearly disturbed in my life. And I mean, they literally said this is, and again, there's some debate on this, but according to JP Morgan, this will be the highest tax increase on American citizens since the Revenue Act of 1968. Some are saying it is worse than that, but I mean, that's the situation we were in. Donald Trump ran the whole time. So let me just make sure we're all on the same page with how hypocritical and what a liar Donald Trump is. Donald Trump ran on, I'm going to cut your taxes. When the budget came out, the actual tax plan, we learned that when he said, yeehaw, thank you for that. When he said, I'm going to cut your taxes, he was pointing at billionaires, or not just people making over $360,000 a year. Those are the people who are getting a tax cut. Right? Or a deeper tax cut. We're not. We, the middle class, will be paying state tax, federal tax, and every time we transact, we will be paying taxes for those additional tax cuts for billionaires and deep tax cuts for corporations at the cash register. And tariffs at the cash register are what we call a regressive tax, right? It disproportionately affects people with smaller income levels. It affects us more than it does. That's why we switched to progressive income taxes, right? Progressive taxes that taxed higher tax brackets, because regressive taxes disproportionately affect the poor and the middle class. And because of that, so Trump wants us to Trump ran on, I'm going to cut your taxes. It turns out he has quite literally, for the vast majority, unless you are a very rich or a corporation, he has done the exact opposite. He has enforced the highest tax increase since the Revenue Act of 1968 per JP Morgan on the American people. And it's like, oh, it's hard. You know, MAGA, when are you going to be tired of getting got? And I don't think so, because I just want you guys to think, if you're thinking like this morning that like they're going to wake up and be like, oh, we've had enough of being used by Donald Trump. Think how many times he's grifted them. How many times on stock and like little buy this coin or this will be worth something. I mean, that is the game, is to be used by him over and over. I mean, these people are repeatedly used by him, and they seem to just be like, use me one more time. Like, the masochism is fascinating to watch. But I do think there's a large cross-section, like the never Trumpers, the people in the middle of the country that did vote with Trump at the end of the election, who might have believed something else was going to happen, that are now like, what the actual is going on? I mean, this is a literal economic bloodbath. Oh, yeah. Someone's saying watches and sneakers. I mean, watches and sneakers are the least of our problems. Like, well, we'll get into it. Whirlpool's laying off. I mean, like let's just say this way. They wanted to cut all the federal jobs. Well, don't worry. The private sector jobs are going too. I mean, that's what's happening right now is just people are announcing job cuts. Like everyone in the private sector was, or a lot of people on the right, let's say, didn't care watching people in the federal workforce be fired. They were cheering it on. Well, now it's your turn. So, surprise, private sector, Republicans or conservatives, while you sat there being like, oh, yeah, the federal government, those aren't real jobs. Well, now you guys can lose your jobs too. Right? Like, and we'll see if it's fun for you. I'm trying to think of where there's a couple things I want to show before I start. Cause I don't want to make you look at the way my brain works. Like I said, I have two different presentations that I made one last night. And then I was like watching the gaslighting happen this morning. So I was like, I kind of want to take us on a journey of what Trump has been up to today. Like, obviously there's a huge fallout. Markets are crashing. Economists are losing their minds. Stock traders, everyone in finance are like, this is the worst thing to ever happen. And watching Trump lie and gaslight people has fascinated me. But first, I want to show a couple things. Yesterday in the Senate, which you can say this is performative and Trump's never going to sign it anyways, and that's why, when you want to talk about real action, that's why Chuck Schumer needed to shut down the government. When we funded the government and that resolution that had all those poison pills attached that basically said he could terrorize us with these tariffs till the end of the fiscal year, this is why. I mean, we need Congress to help us undo this. We need more people. We've got to get it through the House, right? But the Senate passed a bill yesterday. They got 4 Democrats. Remember the ones I said? That's why Trump was naming them, because he knew he had heard they were going to defect. Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, Senator Susan Collins from Maine, Rand Paul from Kentucky, and Mitch McConnell from Kentucky voted with the Democrats to pass a bill to stop Trump's tariffs. So that is the first time we've seen cooperation in the Senate. So it's not nothing. And I want to play this clip of Amy Klobuchar, who's the senator from Minnesota. Love me some Amy, talking about it last night. Oh, you guys can't see. I was like, I can't see it. Hold on.
It was a incredible moment because Tim Kaine and Mark Warner and myself led that bill, and I think at the beginning no one thought the resolution, this could never go through. But because we have been fighting them in the courts, in Congress, and with our constituents by our side, our constituents have had it. They go to the grocery store, the prices are up, and now they're starting to see lumber go up, and they're starting to see gas prices go up. And all of this is in part caused in a big, big way by these tariffs. And the thought that Donald Trump has now landed 10% across the world on all these countries, even more on our allies in Europe, it's going to cause even more problems for the economy. But we had a victory tonight in part because we have been relentless in taking this on. You saw Cory Booker yesterday. You saw the Wisconsin results and what happened in Pennsylvania last week. We are in this fight in a big way, and we're standing up for our constituents, farmers, small businesses, consumers who, yes, Lawrence, it's a $5,000 tax per family, all these tariffs together. So I don't call it Liberation Day. I call it National Sales Tax Day. And that's exactly what Donald Trump did to people today.
Amen, Amy. And this actually reminds me, before I start on the cycle of gaslighting that I put together for us of Republican gaslighting this morning, I want to show you, as long as we're on let's take a tour of Minnesota, Tim Walz, which I love Tim Walz. He's a good guy. Like when I I was a creator for Kamala I'm from Arizona, native born Phoenician, in a swing state, and worked on Kamala's campaign. Was not paid, just to be clear, because I don't want to be paid to do things like that. But yeah, like went to all the events. Some of you saw me. We went on a journey, went to like tons of political events. I got to meet Tim Walz. He's a good guy. Like he's real salt of the earth folk. And he kind of went away for a while after the election. But he's been back and he's been talking about Elon Musk and stuff. And Elon Musk, if you haven't seen the clips, has been attacking him on Twitter and stuff. And he was on, I can't even, Chris Hayes' show. Yeah, last night. It was really good. Let me show you. I can tell he has like his fight back in him. I saw what you wrote in the chat. That's funny. Memories. When am I? Sorry, the presentation closed. Don't blame me, blame TikTok Studio. I'm just reopening it. Yeah, oh my God. Tim Walz was in rare form. Tim Walz, like I say, if you can ever see Tim Walz speak live, you will know what I'm saying. Like, he's just a good guy and a smart guy. But I also just like the way he communicates. He's just a really good, like, hey, I'm just going to give it to you straight. Listen to what he was saying last night about Donald Trump. He's so funny.
I don't know. You almost have to be an amateur psychologist on this. It's like Trump is stuck in the 80s. His music, his clothing, his thinking. He has been on this tariff thing forever. And every economist, conservative or liberal, will tell you they just simply don't work. We use them strategically, but he doesn't fundamentally understand how trade works. It goes back to what I continue to say. I think the biggest myth perpetuated on this country is that Donald Trump understands anything about business. He's bankrupt every single one he's been into, and now he's bankrupting this country. So I appreciate you talking about this. This is a tax on working people that we've not seen in any of our lifetimes, and it is going to have dramatic effect.
There are two follow.
It's so true. And like, yeah, that long tie that like goes down to his knees, the baggy suit, he is trapped in the 80s. And I'm glad to see Tim Walz back out there swinging because he needs to be. He's funny. He's hilarious and smart.
Summer, I was, on the anniversary of the D-Day invasion, and to see those graves while you go to the American cemetery, the French cemetery, Canadians, Australians, all of these people that he says are ripping us off, the Danes, it's an outrageous affront to folks who share our values on democracy, and for him to mock them and to say this about Canada, that they're nasty people. The thing I think that starts to have to set in, and I would argue that what happened in Wisconsin is that there's buyer's remorse on this, and nobody signed up for this. Nobody signed up to insult the Canadians and drive up potash prices. Nobody expected to see tariffs that were just randomly thrown on that are going to punish, especially middle-class Americans. So no, your question is right. But look, I don't think this guy listens to anyone other than himself, and he's convinced this is going to work. But my beef still comes to this. There are senators that need to stand up and say something on the Republican side.
Amen. I should go get my Tim Walz hat. You guys, I had a hat and it was like Tim Walz, like, because remember when Tim Walz was running, I was like, he's like all of our dad. We were like, I was like, if I had a dad that loved me, this is what he would be like. And when I met Tim Walz, I was wearing this hat that said that. It was adorable. He's the nicest person. He really is. He is America's dad. You want to ever just meet the warmest, like, oh, is this what it likes if your dad loves you? It's literally like, they're like, get away from him. I'm like, okay, nice to meet you. It's like, can I be your daughter? No? Okay, just think about it. You can like feel the love and care like coming off of that man. Yeah, well, I'm just saying my mother, who's a malignant narcissist, also is from Minnesota. My grandfather, who had a huge farm/ranch in Minnesota, like, and is all not the greatest guy. So I'm just saying, I know what you mean, because there are so many good people in the Midwest. It's like, what's going on with my family? Why isn't my family like Tim? I don't understand it.
But look, my beef on this is that this guy is out there crying about his portfolio and about stock while I'm making, a comment. And my mom's Social Security check this month is late. That he's attacking the portfolios of working Minnesotans and working Americans who've paid into these programs that he calls a Ponzi scheme. He's taking it and laughing with his chainsaw about destroying the lives and undermining things and institutions that make life better for Minnesotans. Of course, he doesn't care about these agencies because he has all this money. Can you imagine being the richest man in the world and taking offense that I said something about Tesla stock? Look, if I'm Donald Trump won Wisconsin. I'll give him that. But he's sharing his presidency and the White House and who knows what else with this guy who's a loser, who lost. This guy's really bad at this. He made the case that everything hinged on
I love Tim Walz. Oh my God, I could listen to Tim Walz talk his shit all day long. Look, it gets even better too. This is my favorite part of it.
And he was overjoyed. What an evil thing to do.
Yeah, this is like, because Tim Walz said, oh yeah, this is, the richest man in the world, Tesla stocks dropping. He's like, Tim Walz is evil. He's horrible. Like, really? Are you kidding? Union buster, a horrible man doing schmotzy salutes. You're passing judgment on others. That's very interesting to watch.
What a creep. What a jerk. Like, who derives joy from that?
Are you a creep and a jerk?
Well, that's a badge of honor if he thinks I am. Look, it's not personal with him. It's a little bit personal. I don't want to be disingenuous. The guy does bother me. It's a little bit personal. But look, my beef on this is that this guy is out there crying about his portfolio and about stock while I'm making, a comment. And my mom's Social
wanted you to hear that beginning part because they're two separate clips, but I only found the second clip that the beginning. It's a little bit personal with him, as it should be, as I know. And I'm never let me just help you, Elon. When you're the richest man in the world, please miss us with the BS about you being a victim of anything. You are a perpetrator. You are not a victim of any of us. If we added together everything we had in the world, we could not come close to what you had. You are punching down. Nobody is doing anything to you. We are just trying to survive. You are throwing your weight around, punching down constantly. I know, I'm telling you, I'm not going to go back to my days of just being like, Tim Walz is the greatest, but I saw Tim Walz. How many times did I drag you guys to Tim Walz speeches during the election? You're like, okay, this is the seventh one. I'm like, one more time. I just watching that man and how much he would just be in Arizona, just shaking hands for hours. Like, he just did not care. He is the nicest, coolest, smartest, decent person on earth. That's all. He's a great person. And you know how rarely I will say that. He's a good guy. Oh, I need to make sure and determine where we're going next. I just wanted you to see the Tim Walz stuff because, love the guy. Oh, you know what? Should we do some? I'm just trying to make sure we go on the right journey. Okay, I have some Rachel Maddow clips from her show last night, so let's do those because if we're gonna as long as we're talking, let's watch some good stuff before we get gaslit by the Republicans for a couple hours because that's pretty much all I recorded this morning is just constant gaslighting. Rachel, is her show ever not amazingly informative and great? But she was doing some good things. And I can't remember. I think it was Blue Granny. Sorry, I missed it because it just is coming back to me now. But you said something really funny. It's like we're sticking it to the Penguins or something. Yeah. Rachel was talking about the Penguins. Thank God someone's finally hit those Penguins with the reciprocal tariffs that they deserve. And I want to be very clear about something. And so this way, now that we're talking about it, let's not let people get away with it ever again. And by the way, can we tap the screen? Can everyone share the live with me? Let's tap the screen, share the live with 10 people. I'm sure people will trickle in. Sorry, I'm just reading something. No, what? My God, my mother. Sorry. My mother's asking me to do something for her. Tap the screen, share the live with 10 people. What I was just saying, what was I? Oh my God, my mom made me forget my train of thought. What was I just talking about a second ago? Can someone tell me? Because it's important that I finish. Oh, yes. Okay. The point we need to make is what you hear Donald Trump saying over and over in that the most embarrassing speech of all time that he gave yesterday was these are reciprocal tariffs. These are not reciprocal tariffs. And if you're wondering like why I was up all night, it's because what Trump did, well, I mean, yes, he's always telling a series of lies and misdirections and all sorts of things and confabulations. Like, that's all he does. But his point was, we spent all this time calculating all of this and all of the tariffs that they've put on us and in all the different goods. And it's like a matrix of things. I had economists calculating and not just the tariffs, but all the additional fees, the licensing fees and the other fees associated. And it's very complicated and I just can't explain it to you all. But after doing all of that math, that's where I got these numbers. These are reciprocal tariffs. They started it and I'm just doing it back. And that's why I was fascinated to watch these economists and mathematicians being like, no, not any of this is reciprocal, not any of this math. And then they finally were just like, oh, this is just trade deficit divided by imports, which has nothing. They're not reciprocal tariffs. Trump just wants to use the word reciprocal so he could be like, we were attacked first. Do you see what I'm saying? So he can be the victim. He started all of this. Every single thing that's happening, there's a series of lies going on. Short-term pain, long-term gain, lie. We're just trying to recover from the Biden economy, lie. None of this had to happen. Donald Trump is out of his mind. And for no reason, and because no Republicans have enough spine to stand up to the man, they let all of this happen. None of this has to happen. The stock market, yay, we made it to 75K. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for tapping the screen. None of this had to happen. Do not let anybody say these are reciprocal tariffs. It's an insult. Oh, don't Dia de los Muertos me. That might be the coolest gift I've ever seen in my life. I love a Dia de los Muertos mask. I am from Arizona. Give me one second. I'm updating let me move the GIF, the tap goal. Tap. Let me move the tap goal to 100,000. I know, that was awesome, right? Like my ADHD was like, wow. So yeah, these are not reciprocal tariffs. Donald Trump's out of his mind, and Tim Walz was absolutely right. And a lot of Republican economists are talking about it too, like how he's been weirdly obsessed with tariffs since the 80s. They do nothing for anyone. And he's acting like, and he's got to have some excuse. Well, how many excuses do we have now? Short-term pain, long-term gain. Oh, it's about the F illicit substance coming in from Canada. Well, yeah. Well, for some of us who can look up numbers, there's 0.2% of the F illicit substance coming into America through Canada. As a matter of fact, we are sending a whole S load to Canada. If anything, they should punish us. Oh, cool. This is cool. They should punish us for what we're doing to them. But that's just another lie. Then it's, the whole world started it with us. The penguins on those random islands came after us. So I'm just punishing those penguins back. It's like, can you pick a lie? Which one is it? It can't be all of them. Oh, wait, it's none of them. When you're telling the truth, you can keep your story straight. When you're just making up shit and lying and gaslighting everyone, you just keep changing your story. Trump can't even decide what the story is. Thank you, Nanya. I'll reset the gift card now. Let me get the Rachel video. So Rachel, she starts her show out, does like 10, 15 minutes of awesome. And it was so good last night. I was like, thank God someone's making some sense in this world.
So are you tired? Really happy to have you here. So are you tired of all the winning yet?
Yes.
Are you enjoying all of the greatness? Really happy to have you here. So are you tired of all the winning yet? Are you enjoying all of the greatness? May I introduce you to Tokelau? Tokelau is 3 teeny tiny islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's our best approximation on our mapping software here at MSNBC HQ. Tokelau, again, it's 3 islands. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. About 1,500 people live there. One of the 3 islands that makes up Tokelau is apparently known for its famous swimming pigs. As for its economy, Tokelau kind of doesn't register on any international scale of economic measures because Tokelau doesn't really have much of an economy. It's basically
those swimming pigs started with us and we're sticking it to the swimming pigs. Suck it, swimming pigs. Reciprocal tariffs on you is what you just got, swimming pigs.
Subsistence, agriculture, and fishing. And, enjoying the swimming pigs. Donald Trump just imposed an across-the-board.
The swimming pigs are going to learn today.
No exceptions, 10% tariff on Tokelau. Take that, Tokelau bandits. You will screw over the United States of America no longer. May I also introduce you to the Keeling Islands? Keeling Islands are roughly halfway between Australia and Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean. Keeling Islands is 27 islands, but 25 of them are uninhabited. Several of those uninhabited islands have a real plastic trash problem, but that is not because anybody lives there, but because plastic trash from other
Suck it, plastic trash, reciprocal tariffs on you.
countries makes its way across the Indian Ocean and washes up there. The 2 islands of the Keeling Islands that are inhabited out of the 27 islands there, those 2 inhabited islands have a total population of 593 people. Well, Donald Trump just declared trade war on the Keeling Islands. All 593 Keeling Islanders will now be hit with an American government 10% tariff that will apply to,
It's going to help us pay off our debt. Imagine how much money we're going to levy from the Keeling Islands. Don't you guys see how we're heading towards financial freedom? Don't you guys see how we're about to be great again? Are you guys getting it now? Is it all becoming clear? When I was watching, last night, I was just like, this is real life. I was literally watching economists in Australia live, just be like, what the actual is going on?
Anything they might ever want to export here to us. Make it here, Keeling Islands, if you're going to make it. May I introduce you to Jan Mayen Island. It is a volcano, a volcanic island mostly covered in glaciers, hundreds of miles from anything else in the Arctic Ocean. Jan Mayen, I think that's how you say it. It does have an airstrip, but nobody lives there. Population 0 humans, many polar bears. That said,
Suck it, bears. Reciprocal tariffs. Pay us what we're owed. I can see us balancing the budget now. We've got the penguins, we've got the bears, we got that plastic blob of trash on those islands. The money exactly does, buddy. We're rolling in the dough now. It's just going to be flowing in.
Sure, we the American people are now protected from the predatory economic piracy of that uninhabited island. Thanks to our genius strongman ruler who has put the American government to work, Donald Trump has just slapped a 10% tariff on Jan Mayen Island, just in case anyone ever moves up there and tries to screw us over with their Jan Mayen Island underpriced exports and stuff. On the other end of
we went from choosing the bear to tariffing the bear. Exactly. Watch out, bears. You thought it was just humans we could tax? Absolutely not. Does that mean bears and penguins and plastic blobs need representation in our Congress, or we're just going to levy taxes from them? How does that work?
The world, there's Heard, H-E-A-R-D, Heard Island, and also McDonald Island. They're in Antarctica. They are only reachable by boat, and it takes 2 weeks by sea to get there from Australia. Heard and what's the other one? McDonald Island. Sorry, Heard and McDonald Island. I know I don't have to apologize. I'm not offending anybody. They're totally uninhabited, both of them. They're also active volcanoes. So even if you wanted to move there, even the penguins might caution you, right? But they're active volcanoes, one on each island, on both Heard and McDonald Islands. I will say those volcanoes and the penguins and seals who live there, they will never menace the American economy again as they have in the past by flooding us with their cheap exports of what, like fresh air?
Time's up, penguins. Time's up. Time's up. That's it. We're finally sticking it to the penguins. I've been waiting for this, you know. When were we really going to get tough on the penguins? That day is today. Time's up, penguins.
Cool breezes? A waft of ode to penguin? I don't know. What do they send us? The uninhabited Antarctic volcanoes of Heard and McDonald Islands were just slapped by Donald Trump today with a steep 10% tariff. Are you tired of all the winning, America? Can you just feel the practical economic benefits that MAGA leadership is bringing to us at last? Isn't it a relief? Agence France Presse picked up on another one of these as well. This is super genius.
That is so true. Wait, I'm sorry. Someone said something, made a good point. Jer, great point. It's like, I guess gone are the days of, sharks, windmills, and battery, of us terrorizing sharks, windmills, and batteries. I guess we've moved on from the sharks, the windmills, and the batteries, onto the penguins, the polar bears, and the blob of plastic trash somewhere off Australia.
Quote, Britain's Falkland Islands, population 3,200 people and around 1 million penguins, got particular punishment from Trump's tariffs today. Quote, the South Atlantic territory was walloped with tariffs of not 10%, but 41% on exports to the United States. 41% tariffs on the Falkland Islands because, yeah. Our president waited until late in the day to announce these genius tariffs today. He waited specifically until just after 4 p.m. Eastern time because the financial markets close at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and he didn't want to see that reaction in real time. After the markets closed,
I think he's seen it today. Do you know what I'm saying? And it was coming, watching the futures trading last night, watching the markets, because who said that? I think it was Charlie Horse, where she's like, slightly Baddick Felice is hilarious. It's true. I kind of am. I haven't slept yet because I was watching all the markets open, listening to economists in Asia and Australia talk. And I just found it so fascinating for them to be talking about finance, but then all of them to have to be like, yeah, so what do you think's mentally wrong with this guy? Well, it was fascinating to watch.
There's no active trading on the American stock markets, right? But people trade in futures that indicate essentially what they think the markets are going to do when they open up tomorrow. This is the lead right now at CNBC.com explaining how that's going. Quote, U.S. stock futures cratered as President Donald Trump unveiled sweeping tariffs of at least 10% and even higher for some countries, raising the risks of a global trade war that hits the already sputtering U.S. economy. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 1,069 points, or 2.5%. S&P 500 futures dropped 3.6%. NASDAQ 100 futures lost 4.5%. Yeah, are you tired of all the winning? Did you vote for the rich guy because you thought he'd be good with money? CNBC quotes Art Hogan, chief market strategist at B. Riley Wealth Management, saying, quote, what was delivered was as haphazard as anything this administration has done to date. And the level of complication on top of the ultimate level of the new tariffs is worse than had been feared and not yet priced into the market. At the New York Times, they described a broad range of economists, quote, revising their forecasts down for growth and up for inflation as a result of Mr. Trump's announcement. Nancy Lazar, chief global economist at Piper Sandler, had previously expected a flat next quarter in terms of U.S. economic growth. She now expects that U.S. economic growth in the second quarter may be negative. It may fall 1%. Quote, because you're going to be increasing prices more aggressively, and it's going to negatively impact the consumer space more than we had anticipated.
Just want to say, because the goalposts are moving 24 hours a day in real time to keep up MAGA lies, or to, let's not even say they're lies, to stay in cognitive dissonance, the constant narratives. I can imagine how hard they're having to work today. And I'm watching it happen on X. It is fascinating. It's like, are you kidding me? But I mean, yeah, we can't save them all. There's just, we're just going to have to leave some behind. Some of these people are just beyond hope. But I mean, quite literally, I just want to remind, amazing! My ADHD loves you for that. Thank you so much. I've never seen that before. I love a gift. Congratulations on completing your goal. Oh, sorry. I've never seen those updates. There's new updates on TikTok Studio. I need to update my goal. Doing it now. But my point being is that watching them move the goalposts, remember, when all my lives, all the replays of these lives, if you ever miss one and want to watch it, they're all available on YouTube. A Girl Has No Name. If anything ever happens, I'll still be going live the same. I'll just go live in Streamlabs and push my lives to Twitch and YouTube and wherever else I feel like. So we're always going to be together. No one worry about it. But I remember the live very frequently. My original fear was the opposite of this, because I was like, nobody could create this much idiocy for no reason. And in the words of what Ron DeSantis said during that Gavin Newsom Ron DeSantis debate, this is ballistic podiatry, shooting yourself in the foot for no reason. None of this had to happen, and he did it anyways. My original fear was, I remember the headline of The Economist that Biden was handing off one of the most robust economies that had recovered the best in the G7 from the pandemic and was the envy of the modern world to Trump. And we were all fearing he's just going to take credit for it. He's just going to walk in and say, thanks, Miller. He's going to walk in and say, or Gigi, thank you so much. And if anyone's wondering what this is the gift rankings. If anyone's wondering what this little dot is, I'm just trying to keep everyone up to date on all the new TikTok Studio is adding new features every single day. But remember, that was what we all thought was oh, this is what he's going to do. He's just going to walk in because you remember Fox was the economy's broken, even though it wasn't, and all the outlooks were great. The economy was expected to grow. The Atlanta Fed was saying the outlook had never been brighter, onwards and upwards. We were in the sweet spot in oil and gas, the right price per barrel so they could start tapping new wells, all these good things. So I was like, he's going to walk in on January 20th. All of a sudden, you're just going to be them say, this is Trump's economy and he did it all. And then we're all going to have to sit here for 4 years while Trump said he did this. Who knew he was this absolutely out of his mind? Who truly knew? Because, who knew he would do this and never had to do this to himself? Could have just taken credit. Trump used to like to just take credit for other people's work. He could have just done that and they would have let him and been happy. And now we're here. Did not have this on my bingo card, or at least maybe this disastrous.
She said, quote, it's an immediate hit to the economy. And when she says it's going to negatively impact the consumer space, that's where we all live. That's the negatively impacted space, the place where regular humans live and have to spend money on stuff. We, in our office, contacted Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman just after Trump made his announcement today to ask his initial reaction. He told us this, quote, Trump's tariff announcement was full-on crazy. Not only is he imposing higher tariffs than almost anyone expected, but he's justifying them with completely...
Sorry, I had to do this in two parts because it's so long.
false claims about other countries' tariffs. I don't know where his numbers are coming from, but they have nothing to do with reality.
This is the debate I've been watching all day, because economists are like, no, that's not how anyone calculates tariffs. These can't be reciprocal tariffs. These countries aren't tariffing at these rates. None of it makes sense. And it turns out they're not. They're not. It's just, oh my God, wings. Thank you so much. It's just trade deficit divided by imports, having nothing to do with tariffs.
Krugman told us, quote, it's a really bad day for the U.S. economy. Now, here's something interesting. I think a lot of what Trump is trying to do in his style of leadership, as it were, is trying to create not only the impression of success when it's not there, like him saying his first 2 months in office have been perfect, which is hilarious, but he's also trying to create an impression that he is omnipotent, that he has all the power. He has powers that no other president has ever had. He has all the power, and nobody else in the U.S. government, nobody else in the United States of America has any power to do anything of their own, let alone any power to stop him. But to that point, it's worth getting specific about this. The reason we are all spectators here, while Donald Trump purposefully craters the U.S. economy and threatens to throw the entire world into a pointless trade war-fueled recession, if not depression, which is what he's doing tonight. The reason we're all spectators to that is because he has given himself, he says, the power to do this all by himself. When he was sworn in for the second term, he declared an economic emergency that would allow him to just burp out tariff proclamations on his own say-so whenever he felt like it, with nobody else in the government having to be involved in it at all. All because he said it's an emergency. Now, quick reminder here that when the previous president, Joe Biden, was leaving office, The Economist magazine decided to do a special report on the state of the U.S. economy that was being left to the next president. This was The Economist cover for that special report. It shows the U.S. economy as a bundle of bills posing as a rocket ship soaring into outer space. The headline, quote, America's economy, the envy of the world.
Literally forgot she was talking about this. This is what I was talking about. This is what I thought Trump was going to take credit for. And I was like, here we go. Like, I can't wait. The day Trump gets in office, he's just going to be like, look what I did.
But then the new president took over, Donald Trump got in, and he immediately declared that this envy of the world economy was a complete disaster. It was an emergency. So much so that he needed, effectively, dictatorial powers to set new economic policies by fiat, just on his own say-so. Whatever he feels like is policy, it's just in effect because he said it. And with those emergency powers, that's how he's been able to single-handedly do his best to destroy the U.S. economy and potentially much of the industrialized world economies. There is a way, a legal way, a policy way to interrupt this dictatorship mid-catastrophe. And I don't mean time traveling back to last October to show voters tonight's headlines, although I do fantasize about doing something like that all the time.
Oh my God, that is true. If only we could time travel. If only. But I just want to point out today, and some of the gaslighting I'll show you. I mean, you just saw that Economist headline. Thank you for the stamp. And literally what they're saying, part of the lies, one of the narratives this morning of gaslighting from the conservatives is Biden handed us a mess. Now, would the Economist, one of the most respected financial publications in the world, say the U.S. economy was the envy of the world when it was handed off? And you can read that article. I've read it. I mean, yeah, math doesn't lie. And today they're like, Well, we're just still trying to. JD Vance is a pathological liar. I can't even. JD Vance passed the bar. He's beholden to the ethics of the bar and is pathologically lying this morning. So enjoy these moments before you have to go on a journey of what the F is wrong with these people.
No, the actual way to stop this dictatorship mid-catastrophe, the way to stop this part of Trump's one-man wrecking ball operation against the U.S. economy is for Congress to do something very simple. For Congress to simply declare with a simple majority vote that actually there isn't an emergency. Yes, Trump proclaimed an economic emergency. That's how he gave himself these emergency powers. But Congress could simply just say, actually, no, there isn't an economic emergency. So no, he no longer has these powers. He is no longer empowered to single-handedly drunk drive our country into this particular wall. They could do that. And tonight, the United States Senate did. They actually passed a bill like that about the supposed economic emergency we're in with regard to Canada. And they passed this resolution in the Senate that expressly says there is no economic emergency here. They passed it 51-48. All Democratic senators supported it.
It's a good question. Jack Corner asked, didn't they give that power in this year? Yeah, they continued it. He used his executive order to declare like the state of emergency. And I believe that gives you like a certain amount of days to act a fool. And then when they refunded the government, one of the poison pills baked into that alleged continued resolution, which had all this ridiculous stuff, was that it was, let's give him the power to keep wreaking economic havoc on all of us through the end of the fiscal year. And that's why, like, you guys know, like, I'm not one to get super outraged. The Senate Democrats, I will never forgive them for not shutting down the government. Do you see why now? Like, are we getting it now? Would you log in to look at your 401k? Are you getting it why Chuck Schumer shat the bed at this point? See, that's a little British swearing, Jer. I hope you like that one. I'm much more likely to swear in British than I am in English. Like, do you know, I used to like to say slag, even though that's not a nice word.
And so did these four Republican senators, Rand Paul, Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, and Lisa Murkowski. Gave us a 51-48 vote. And that means it passes. It only takes a simple majority to pass this kind of resolution in the Senate. And so this resolution, effectively taking away some of Trump's emergency powers to set tariffs on his own say-so, it has passed the Senate. And that means it now goes to the House. And in the House, Democrats have been trying to bring up this exact same resolution since Trump started bludgeoning the economy with these tariff announcements. The House, like the Senate, is controlled by Republicans, but
need 3 people. I can't even remember what she says, but I'm just telling you because I was listening to Greg Casar go off today about it. We need 3 people. I love Greg Casar. He's the chair of the Progressive Caucus. He's a representative from Texas. If you don't know who I'm talking about, he's amazing. He speaks on tour with like Bernie and AOC. Yeah, they need 3 people. They need 3 Republicans to spontaneously grow a spine. Or maybe there's an operation that we could pool our money together and get for 3 Republicans so that they could have some sort of, makeshift spine so they could vote with us to stop the madness. No, they haven't voted on it. The Senate brought it to the floor with 4 Republicans yesterday. The Senate passed it. The Senate Democrats with Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, who knew that Moscow Mitch would be working with the most feared creature in the DC swamp. Mitch the Turtle McConnell is now a dissident. Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski. So it came out of the Senate, and they've been trying to force it to the floor in the House. Which this is a good opportunity to talk about this. Real quick, though. Joseph You're amazing. Thank you so much for the $25 on Venmo. Oh, sorry, I'm having some problems with my stupid mouse. I could hear the discussion on tariffs at the Oval Office. Quote, Mr. President, we need to talk about the tariffs to impose. Trump, just ask ChatGPT and make me a big chart. I have to get on the golf course. Felice, thanks for all you do. Joby, you're the best. Truly. And a pleasure to hang around with. Marlene, thank you so much for subscribing also. I'm trying to get back to 400 subscriptions. Maybe I think we're at 357. So that was an accident. Did not mean to turn those. There they are. I was like, where did they go? If only you could see how many buttons there are in TikTok Studio. I could barely tell what's going on from minute to minute. I should not be in control of all the buttons. Oh, let me update the gift goal and then we'll continue. So yeah, wait, oh my God, almost lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so now we need to get the bill through the House. So that's why what happened, what Anna Paulina Luna was fighting for, it's not just about voting, like people, new parents getting to vote by proxy from home for 3 months. It is 1,000 times bigger than that. What happened is, and I'll just explain this again because it has to do with this. So the Senate passed that bill. They've been trying to force it to the floor in the House. They need 3 Republicans. And what they're upset about is that Anna Paulina Luna has now put it into everyone's head in the House. They can get around the Rules Committee. How do you get something voted on in the House? It has to go through the Rules Committee, and the Rules Committee is essentially the most powerful Republicans in the House. Our ranking member on the Rules Committee is the gentleman from Massachusetts, Jim McGovern. He's a genius. Theirs is Gross Virginia Fox, who's a monster from North Carolina. And any vote has to go through them, and they have veto power, right? Except on one condition. There's something called a discharge petition. And that's why Mike Johnson is furious at Anna Paulina Luna. She's a former Freedom Caucus member. She left the Freedom Caucus because they wouldn't help her get the vote to the floor. So a discharge petition means I'm going to the Rules Committee is not allowing us to move forward. I'm going to go door to door on Capitol Hill and ask if I can collect 218 signatures. I can force my vote to the floor. I can circumvent, which if any magazine here, that means go around the Rules Committee and force a vote to the floor. I can buck Republican leadership, Mike Johnson, who is basically Donald Trump. He's just a lackey for Donald Trump, and I can force my vote to the floor. And that's why they're furious she did it, because it put in everyone's head, oh, if we did it once, we could do it again. I don't know, like maybe to stop Trump's tariffs. And so not only when they tried to add a rule and to that vote that they voted down, they killed it, right? Republicans joined with Democrats we're killing your discharge petition, Anna Paulina Luna. They said, we will not allow any more. They were trying to create a rule and get the majority of Congress to vote to say, never again can you collect. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me make sure. I want to make sure you guys can hear. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, never mind. It's fine now. I just got a weird notification in TikTok Studio, and this part's important. So I want to make sure everyone can hear. Never again. They were not just saying, we're killing this discharge position. They were saying, we are creating a new rule coming out of the Rules Committee that none of you ever again can do a discharge position in this session of Congress. So they can't bypass the Rules Committee again. And the Republicans joined with Democrats and were like, absolutely not. Like, what's wrong with you? I mean, they are quite literally thinking, we need to take all the power away from everyone. And thank God for and just the few people like Tim Burchett, if you ever thought I'd be thankful for him, no, never thought that day was coming. It was that day. Tim Burchett, like Max Miller, Anna Paulina Luna. I'm trying to remember like who the other ones were, but they voted it down and we won the vote. It's the first vote that ever went our way in the 119th Congress. So more discharge petitions can be brought. And that's why it matters, because we are going to have whoever the first Republicans to grow a spine are. That's probably how we get to the vote to the floor in the House, is through a discharge petition.
Just like the Senate, the House is probably likely to pass this resolution if it got a vote. All the Democrats would vote for it, and enough Republicans in the House probably would join with Democrats to pass it. And if they did, with the Senate passing it and the House passing it, that would mean that the proverbial gun was taken out of Trump's hand and he could be stopped from shooting any more holes into the American economy and the global economy. The problem is that the Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, saw this coming and took a dramatic and bizarre step to prevent any possibility that the House of Representatives would ever have to vote on anything like this to take away Trump's powers. The rule is if somebody brings up this kind of resolution in the House, after a certain number of days, it's supposed to be mandatory that it actually gets a vote. In order to avoid that mandatory vote, House Speaker Mike Johnson got the House to proclaim that the whole rest of this year in Congress is one long day. The whole rest of this Congress only counts as one calendar day. So that means multiple days will never elapse, technically, and that means they will never be forced to take the vote in the House, which would pass. And if it passed, that would save the American people and the American economy and the global economy from the tariff disaster that Trump is unilaterally imposing under emergency powers that allow him to act by fiat as if he is a dictator. So in other words, there is a cure to this disease. There is a readily available, dramatically effective, proven, legal antidote to this poison. And Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson grabbed it out of our hands and flushed it down the toilet to make sure we can never take it so Donald Trump can keep doing this to the economy. Are you tired of all the winning? The vote tonight in the Senate to take away these emergency powers from Trump, with which he's doing all the tariff stuff. That vote in the Senate tonight does happen to be the largest and most significant rebuke to Trump that congressional Republicans have yet mustered in his second term in office. Theoretically, if people could pressure Mike Johnson into allowing a vote on this same resolution in the House, it would actually be a rebuke that meant something, that maybe saved the economy. But unless and until that happens, some Senate Republicans have shown a little strength here, but until anything happens in the House, it's Trump and House Republicans standing together to throw us all off the cliff. Also, we can slap those Antarctic penguins with big tariffs in case they ever turn into humans and start making stuff that they might want to sell us. That'll show them.
I love Rachel. In case they ever start making stuff that they might want to sell us. Amen, Rachel. You tell the people. That is hilarious. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't want to skip anything. I'm trying to decide where we go. Do we just go to the gaslighting? Let's go to JD Vance and what was going on this morning. So, and forever and here on, we will now know Howard Lutnick is Howard Nutlick. It finally occurred to me, like, why have I never noticed that if you just take the first letters of the two parts of his name and switch them, his name is literally Nutlick. Like, that's the funniest thing ever. And if you don't know, I don't think I ever really talked about this controversy, but there's a huge fight brewing, like, between Scott Bessent, the man supposed to be like making the financial decisions, is Scott Bessent, who is a hedge fund owner, learned at the feet of George Soros, like a real economist. But instead, Trump is listening to a wacko named Howard Nutlick and like going around Scott Bessent. So if you saw Scott Bessent like doing interviews, I mean, he looked like a neutered, broken man who was just like, I don't want to be the one explaining this. And I was like, God, he looks like he's being held hostage and has no idea what to say. Because no real economist would make these decisions. They're nonsensical, right? And then I noticed, like, today, because the rumor was Susie Wiles, who, if you don't know who Susie Wiles is, she's Trump's chief of staff. They call her the Ice Maiden. And she had put a moratorium on Howard Lutnick, like, even being allowed to be on like Sunday morning political shows because he's so nuts and would say such crazy things and is putting these crazy tariff ideas in Trump's head. So he wasn't even supposed to be doing Sunday morning political shows anymore. And now he is literally, he's the guy today. I think Scott Bessent's like, I'm not doing this. Like, don't ask me as an economist to explain why this makes sense. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't want to explain this. So today it's like Howard Nutlick and Brooke Rollins, who's like the agricultural secretary and is absolutely clueless. And of course, Caroline Leavitt is in rare form, just making up pathological lies. But these people, I mean, it is just 24-hour gaslighting lie machine. And I mean, JD Vance used to know the difference between the truth and a lie. You can't even, he's unrecognizable. Watching him become this person is, I mean, not to say, it's not that I had like any like tons of real hope for him, but it's, I want to show you guys this. This is what Trump posted this morning. The gaslighting. This is real life, people. I guess he's referring to us, the American people. The operation is over. The patient lived and is healing. The prognosis is that the patient will be far stronger, bigger, better, and more resilient than ever before. Make America great again. No, thank you, weirdo. Some of us can do math and read. Oh my God, I have something you guys have to hear. So this is his delusion. The stock market is in free fall. Anybody with a brain is like, he's saying he's saving us, that he's like removed the cancer by crashing the economy. And we should all be like, thank God. Yeah, it's just that anyone with a brain, real people who I trust their opinions don't believe you. And that's what I mean when I say anyone that can do math or read is saying the exact opposite of this. And let me show you. Hold on, I gotta find it. Like, this is in my first presentation. I was gonna play this for you guys because there is a book coming out that is hilarious. It's written by a guy named Michael Wolff. I was playing this morning, and it just goes to show you, like, this is why you can't trust Trump. It's a book where people are literally like talking about the fact that Trump can't read. I mean, and when I say people, this is not liberal, like, MAGA's like liberals just making up lies. No, it's Republicans being like, yeah, I work for Trump, he can't read. And that's very concerning. Like, we shouldn't have a president that can't read. Or, I mean, I don't know if it, can't or won't, but refuses to read. Oh, I have to find this because it's hilarious. I played it on Steve's Live. Give me 1 second to locate this clip because, trust me, it's worth it. I'm trying to remember where it is. Oh. Doo-doo-doo. I'm going to find it. Give me 1 second. Almost there. Somewhere right here. Oh, I have the best Jasmine video too. My God, I can't even go through these things. Like, oh, here it is. Where's this video? No, that's the screenshot, but now I need to just locate the video. Almost there, guys. I think it's on this phone. Give me 1 more second. It will be worth your time. Keep tapping the screen, share the live. Let me figure out where is my video. I know I literally played it this morning on Steve Lives. Oh, is it? So I know the video exists. Just need to find it. Let me just look at the presentation this morning. And I cannot stand when I can't find something. It makes me crazy. You know, it's like when you put down a pen and then you're like, I just had this pen. I know it's here. Where is it? That's what I feel like right now. It's making me crazy. Oh my God, I love it. Actually, I think I know his profile. It's on. Let me just find it. I just started following him. I didn't know who he was before. Just be there. Oh my God. Here we go. Oh no, wait, that's the wrong one. I'm going to lose my mind. Where are you? Okay, give me one more second to look, and then if I can't find it, I'll give it up. But I don't like not being able to find stuff. Oh my God, that's stuff with Jasmine. And then we need to talk about Jasmine Crockett because I'm just being reminded of the racist comment I heard conservatives make. Oh my gosh, it's gonna drive me insane that I can't find that because it's so good. But basically, it's this clip of this book that has come out and it's talking about, is this it? It's basically talking about how Trump can't read. It's written by Michael Wolff. Oh, I don't know. Sorry, I haven't slept, so it's hard for me. Like, I think maybe my attention to detail is just a little off right now, but I played it this morning. Anyways, bummer. But the point is, it's about a book that has come out that basically it's interviewing people. Oh, did I find it? Come on. Yes, I found it. Awesome. Okay, now I know where it is. Let me find it on here. It's right. God, and it's right in the front of my, just so everyone knows, it's right in front of my face. I just want everyone to know I was staring at it the entire time. I just forgot what it looked like.
Staffers at the White House have low opinions of the president's intelligence. There are many creative words. Quote, Trump didn't read. He didn't really even skim. If it was print, it might as well not exist. Some believed that for all practical purposes, he was no more than semi-literate. For Steve Mnuchin and Reince Priebus, he was an idiot. For Gary Cohn, he was dumb as blank. For H.R. McMaster, he was a dope. And the list went on. Wolf also writes this, quote, in April, an email originally copied to more than a dozen people went into far wider circulation when it was forwarded and re-forwarded, purporting to represent the views of Gary Cohn and quite succinctly summarizing the appalled sense in much of the White House. This is what the email said, quote, it's worse than you can imagine. An idiot surrounded by clowns. Trump won't read anything, not one-page memos, not the brief policy papers, nothing.
Now this guy is telling us he's an economist. The economy is crashing. Thank God and again, don't come after liberals. These are Republicans talking about their boss, Donald Trump, that they used to work for. Like, oh yeah, I need to update the tapping goal too. So don't come at us. This has nothing to do with liberals. We didn't work closely with Trump. This is people that work with Trump saying, yeah, this guy could not find his way out of a paper bag to save his life. And then he's like, don't worry, guys. I know what I'm doing. I came up with this formula, which turns out if you ask Chat GPT to come up with a tariff formula, they come up with it. And it turns out these countries that he says are reciprocal tariffs. Are you getting it now? No one lives in these places, but he said, oh, there were reciprocal tariffs, but you chose a bunch of places that are uninhabited. That makes perfect sense. That's what I would do too. Yeah. Or you have no idea what's going on and you asked AI to do something for you and it's a joke. His own people say the man cannot read. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is the situation we're in at this point. Literally could not find his way out of a paper bag. Onwards and upwards. Let's now to the gaslighting. And then, so it's like, think about that. These are past people that work with him saying, hey, this guy can't read. And so think about these people that are working for her. That's how I know Caroline, like that explains her intelligence level. She has to, and listen, I never want to attack women. And this is not, it has nothing to do with her being a woman. Like, it's just, what are you talking about? Ever. You have no idea what you're talking about, just like Trump. Keep tapping the screen. Oh, I'll update.
What is the White House reaction to, as we just had those numbers up, global markets tumbling this morning and futures down sharply?
To anyone on Wall Street this morning, I would say trust in President Trump. This is a president who is doubling down on his proven economic formula from his first term. We saw wages increase. We saw inflation come down. We had a Trump energy boom. We had the largest tax cuts in history. And that's exactly what the president intends to do following his historic announcement yesterday for reciprocal tariffs. It's the golden age rule for the golden age of America. And the United States of America is no longer going to be cheated by foreign nations around the world. And as the president declared yesterday, this is indeed a national emergency. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit and counting. We've had 90,000 factories close in the last couple of decades. Since 1997, Americans have been put out of 5 million manufacturing jobs.
So I just want to be very clear. Not one word she said is correct. This woman has zero idea what she is talking about. We've got a guy who everyone who was smart, those were past, Steve Mnuchin was the guy that used to run the Treasury being like, that guy was an idiot, is quoted in a book as that's what we thought of him. He refused to read any piece of paper we put in front of him. And then this lady is like, trust him. Oh, really, weirdo? Like, now that you know how I know you're clueless because you say these types of things. What are you talking about? How embarrassing for you. And please stop insulting all of our intelligence. Not all of us are clueless. But I mean, this is ridiculous. So just keep that in mind as you hear this gaslighting. We're talking about a book coming out with Trump's former cabinet saying, yeah, Trump can't read or refuses to read. We think it's a combination of both. And then we've got to hear this woman just spewing lies at us. Oh, wait, I forgot. I need to correct one more thing that's important. Again, she's saying, factories have closed. Factories have closed. Let me help you with that. That was conservatives, right? The reason, let me help you with why we offshored manufacturing. It was a little something called labor laws, right? Americans were tired of slave labor. And as we demanded common sense labor law, like, hey, we're tired of losing hands in factories and working 18-hour days and kids in the mines. As soon as we established labor law, conservatives said, nope, this labor's too expensive. We need to go to third world countries where we can exploit humans for cheap labor. That's why we offshored factories, weirdo. Like, please, some of us aren't idiots. Some of us understand what globalism was. Another example of Republicans doing something and then claiming it's breaking something and then being like, this is a problem we need to fix. Someone else broke it. No, you did it because you're selfish and greedy. Now we're here and you're like, can you believe all these factories closed? Yeah, because you guys wanted slave labor. Yeah, the weirdo's the best thing to say because it truly describes all of these people too. Just call everyone a weirdo.
Foreign Minister of Norway in Brussels for NATO meetings said this morning that the tariffs could violate an article of the NATO.
Real quick, someone said she lies more than Kayleigh McEnany or whatever. Yeah, McEnany's way smarter. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not that I have some. I'm not a conservative that thinks women don't have brains. I'm a woman who has an enormous brain. Like, McEnany is much smarter than her. So is Huckabee Sanders. Like, this woman has zero idea what she is speaking about. She would say anything. Like, Trump could be like, oh, like, read off the nuke codes. And she'd be like, okay.
Treaty that orders members to promote economic stability and collaboration. If this is a breach of the NATO treaty, will the president reassess his approach?
No, the president is firm in his approach, and the president is ensuring economic stability here in the United States of America. Yesterday, he was joined in the Rose Garden by everyday Americans, middle-class workers. You heard from one of them who the president invited on stage by name because he knows this man and he knows what the impact of globalization has done to communities like Detroit, Michigan, where auto workers have been put out of jobs, where we've seen factories shut down. We have offshored critical supply chains in our country.
The foreign minister.
Again, that's not wrong answer, honey. No idea what you're talking about. Learn economics, learn history, learn math. Those would be my advices. And you're 27, married to a 61-year-old, thinking you know everything. That's a very scary place to be in. Like, zero clue what you're saying. Or you're a pathological liar. I mean, you don't choose one. Neither are great, or a combination of both.
In the most immediate, I mean, these farmers, as Tom Silla says, farmers are one crop away from bankruptcy. That farmer doesn't have time to wait for tariffs to work their way into the system, for the benefit of it to work its way into the system at all. This is going to mean higher prices for Americans. In the most immediate, that's why I asked the question, how much pain on a temporary basis is okay? What's the standard that the president is looking at in terms of how much pain Americans can feel on a temporary basis that he's okay with?
Again, the president is focused every single day on lowering the cost of living in this country while simultaneously implementing these very effective tariffs. Massive deregulation, an energy boom, and tax cuts are the economic formula that will mean more prosperity and the lower cost of living.
It's terrifying to me. It is terrifying that people could believe this was true. Like, just delusional stupidity from the conservatives. Not one word of that is correct. Oh, he's lowering the cost of living? For who? For who? Oh, for billionaires? That's great to hear. That's great. I'll sleep better. Like, what she meant to say is, hey, I'm married to a 61-year-old rich man. This is not something keeping me up at night. My job is to pathologically lie for Trump. Next question. Like, I would have respect for her if she just said that. Like, say the truth. Oh, I love this. Aaron Rupar's like, the Trump rapid response team has been reduced to tweeting clips of Bill O'Reilly to gas up tariffs. Because there are very few people who want to be on record supporting this at this point. Like, I mean, these are the true Trump idiots / sycophants. Like, so this is JD Vance this morning, and I mean, what the actual F? This is going to upset you. I mean, JD Vance, shame on you.
I also know people that come from our background, they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Of course.
And they want to do the patriotic duty of taking it to these other countries, but it's going to hit them a little bit. They feel. What can you tell the American people that they just can't afford an extra $3 here and there? about the government making up the difference from that? Will costs go up at some point? Will this just be temporary? Are we talking 3 months or 6 months?
Well, we certainly hear, and I appreciate, how I grew up.
I know.
I grew up in a family that often did live paycheck to paycheck, and we know a lot of Americans are worried. So we are fighting very hard to bring prices down. We're going to have the biggest deregulation in the history of this country. We're doing a lot of things and already have done a lot of things to lower the cost of energy. You heard the president mention this yesterday. Eggs, when we came in.
No, you are not. Stop lying. Trump is like, well, no, let me correct that, actually. Trump is begging the Saudis to release their supply of oil, which, just to be clear what that will do, that will crash American oil, right? We have to remain if you understand, thanks to Mr. Global's constant tutelage, I've learned a ton about oil and gas. Like, because of the cost to tap oils in America, we have to keep oil barrels above $60 a barrel. It has to be a sweet spot, right? Like we cannot let them drop low. Trump is telling the Saudis to unleash their reserve oil supply, which will drive the price per barrel down and bankrupt American oil. Yeah, oil's down 7% today. Thank you, Tootle. It's not going well. So I mean, it's just listening to these people is unbelievable. Selling out American oil workers who now Mr. Global has helped me understand like what the margins are like and how difficult that is.
We're at a 10-year high, and all of a sudden they've dropped 60% just in the 2 months of the Trump administration. What I'd ask folks to appreciate here is that we are not going to fix things overnight. Yeah.
Because they're double. The highest price they were was like, what, $6? And the wholesale price of eggs was almost at $12. So you're saying they've dropped 40%. They're still higher than they ever were. What the F are you talking about? Please stop insulting people's intelligence.
Joe Biden left us, this is not an exaggeration, Lawrence, with the largest peacetime debt and deficit in the history of the United States of America, with sky-high interest.
Are you kidding me? Like, we recovered the best in the G7 from the pandemic. The Economist said our economy was the envy of the world. So what you need here is context, right? Nobody can control a global pandemic. What you can control is the economic levers you have to recover from said pandemic. And we did the best in the G7. That's why the Economist said our economy is the envy of the world. That's why everyone said, oh God, Trump's just going to walk in and say, I did all this. And instead, he decided to completely unprovoked, it never needed to happen, crash our economy.
Rates. You don't fix that stuff overnight. We know people are struggling. We're fighting as quickly as we can to fix what was left to us, but it's not going to happen immediately. But we really do believe that if we pursue the right deregulation, we pursue those energy cost-reducing policies, yes, people are going to see it in their pocketbook. They're also going to benefit from the fact that foreign countries can't take advantage of us anymore. That means their jobs.
Also, it's the insults to him. And Mac is like, yep, JD Vance said it. Like, must be true. And look at this. I love it. Like, you could tell when Aaron Rupert, he's from Minnesota. He's one of my favorite independent journalists. And when you could tell when he's mad because he goes, JD Vance straight up lies on Fox and Friends. Remember, the real numbers, is there Social Security fraud? Sure, right? The inspector generals that Trump got rid of, the real auditors who do real high level forensic audits to detect fraud, right, did an audit of Social Security and determined that 1% was fraud. 1%. Now, this is probably, everything JD Vance has said has been kind of misdirection, obfuscation, or a lie. But this is just, wow, prepare yourself for what you're about to hear.
First of all, that report I saw was total fake news. Elon came in and we said, we need you to make government more efficient. We need you to shrink the incredible, vast bureaucracy that thwarts the will of the American people, but also costs way too much money. And we said that's going to take about 6 months. And that's what Elon signed up for. But of course, he's going to continue to be an advisor. And by the way, the work of Doge is not even close to done. The work of Elon is not even close to done. You look at all of the fraudulent grants that they found. You look at people who are 150 years old, who are fraudulently collecting Social Security payments. You see our Social Security system, 40% of the people who are calling in are actually committing fraud. That means the 60% who need their Social Security checks are waiting in line. Doge has got a lot of work to do. And yeah, that work's going to continue after Elon leaves. But fundamentally, Elon is going to remain a friend and an advisor of both me and the president. And he's done a lot of good things. People don't.
So what happened was that Elon told his actual shareholders he was taking a step back from this Doge nonsense, and then it was widely reported, and then people were like, good, get the F out of here. And now Elon's like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still saying, notice he wasn't around in the Rose Garden and stuff, because after the Wisconsin election disaster, he's kryptonite. People cannot stand this man in politics. They don't want him around, but they also don't want to humiliate him. So they're trying to walk this tightrope of like, oh, he's not going away. Oh, he's still here. Whatever. It's ridiculous. And no, 40% of the people calling into Social Security are what are you talking about? That's something Elmo said. That's something Elon Space Karen said. It is not true. And let me help you. And what we learned from the clips we were watching from the Social Security hearing on Monday, they are purposely breaking Social Security. They are making it so people cannot get the $65 a day they need to survive while laughing in our faces. I just want to remind you, these are the people that said, if you can't get your Social Security benefits, if we don't send your check and you scream what's going on, then you're a fraud. The people who scream the loudest are frauds. That's to have a chilling effect, to scare us into silence while they steal from us. They don't want to give us our $65 a day so billionaires and Republicans can get more tax cuts. Truly, we're going to be paying state taxes. We're going to be paying federal taxes. Unless you make more than $360,000 a year, you don't get an additional tax cut. And now every time we're at the cash register, we're paying taxes, and then they're going to steal people's Social Security checks. And they're like, hey, if you speak up about it, that means you're a fraud. Oh, is that what it means? Okay, yeah. Hey, pipe down while we rob all of you guys. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but good luck to you with that, JD. And good luck looking at yourself in the mirror. Good luck when you put your children in debt. He has children. At least I have no dependents. Like, you have to look yourself in the mirror, and your children will never, anybody that has dependents, they will be paying this off. We are putting them into a hole they will never crawl out of. So people who already have the most can have more. Great job, JD. I mean, but then again, you knew he had no soul, because working for Peter Thiel, you can't have one. I mean, I think his soul has already been removed from his body anyways. Oh, prepare yourself for this lie.
Your lawyer hat on for a second, because they're pointing to one of these cases of a gentleman that.
Put your lawyer hat on for a second. Okay, JD Vance is about to violate the ethics of the bar, of the oath to the ethics of the bar that he's beholden to. Yeah, put your lawyer hat on and betray the ethics of the bar for a second, JD.
Your lawyer hat on for a second, because they're pointing to one of these cases of a gentleman that they said should not have been deported from El Salvador. They said he was not connected to MS-13. What would you tell them about that case? Because they're saying that this is a person that was a great member of society, You've looked at the court records. You've talked to the men and women on the ground. What can you tell us about that situation?
Well, there have been a few cases out there where the Democrats and the media say, oh, this person was just an innocent father of three, and then you find out, for example, I think this is the case that you're talking about. Back in 2019, an immigration judge looked at all the evidence, looked at all the data, and concluded that this allegedly innocent person that we sent to El Salvador was actually a member of an MS-13 gang.
Lie. And remember, JD Vance was dragged off of Twitter for attempting this lie. I mean, literally dragged off of the app yesterday for this lie. And I walked us all through it and corrected it. But let me just in case you weren't here for watching JD Vance be literally dragged off Twitter yesterday, which it was a sight to behold. Let me just play because the original fight started with John Favreau from Pod Save America. So let me just play that video again, reminding you of what I'm actually talking about, the absolute hypocrisy and lies. Like, let me just remind you, JD Vance literally was laughed off of Twitter. Like, it was one of the most brutal draggings ever. I've never seen, like, leftists are like herding cats. They don't necessarily get along all the time, but man, have I never seen so many leftists swarm. So immigration lawyers, like reporters, scientists, and just shame someone and be like, lawyers were like, you're a lawyer. Like, what is wrong with you? It was a beautiful thing. If you don't know John Favreau, he runs Pod Save America.
I need to tell you all about my Twitter fight with JD Vance. The news just broke that for the first time, the Trump administration admitted in court that they sent a father from Maryland to rot in a dictator's torture dungeon based on, quote, an error and, quote, an oversight. Even worse, the Trump administration is also arguing in court that even though they've mistakenly sent this man to a Salvadoran prison, they have no ability to bring him back. The Atlantic broke the story Monday night. The man's name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He came to the U.S. in 2011 because real gang members in El Salvador were threatening to kill him. He married an American citizen. He works full-time. He's caring for 2 kids. One is a 5-year-old with autism who can't hear well or communicate. In 2019, Garcia spent a year in ICE detention because he was accused of being a gang member, an accusation based only on his Chicago Bulls hoodie and a single informant who claimed that Garcia belonged to a chapter of MS-13 in a state where he's never lived. Even the police said they didn't believe the informant. To this day, Garcia has never been charged or convicted of any crime in any country. Garcia ultimately won his case. A judge freed him and gave him a specific legal protection from being deported to El Salvador because the judge was worried that they'd torture or kill him. 6 years later, just a few weeks ago, as Garcia was picking up his son after work at his grandmother's house, ICE agents stopped him, handcuffed him, took him away from his family, and sent him to prison in El Salvador without any due process. And his wife only knew this because she saw his picture on TV. I was shaking with anger when I read this story last night. I tweeted about it. I asked if Marco Rubio or Elon Musk or JD Vance had any comment. At 1 a.m. Eastern, JD Vance wrote back. He said Garcia was a convicted MS-13 gang member, a lie, with no legal right to be here, another lie, and told me it was, quote, gross to get fired up about the government admitting that it sent an innocent man to a foreign prison. You know what's gross, JD? That unlike your own Justice Department, you can't admit that you fucked up, that you and Trump...
It's important to note, Pam Bondi, current head of Justice Department, she had nothing to do with the original case, but they said this was an error. We shouldn't have sent him. You guys are right. And JD Vance, to run cover for Trump, or because he's devoid of, any sort of ethics at this point, but he's a lawyer beholden to the ethics of the bar, just was pathologically lying and saying he was convicted of being a gang member. Not only has this man never been convicted of a crime, he's never been charged with a crime. Period. Ever.
Refused to call up the Salvadoran dictator who we're paying $6 million a year to jail people, some who've committed no crime, and ask him to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Or Andre Romero, the gay Venezuelan makeup artist who's also been wrongly imprisoned. Or any of the more than a dozen people you've now sent to be starved and tortured based on nothing more than a few suspicious tattoos. That's fucking gross. And people need to speak up. Call your member of Congress. Ask Democratic politicians to speak up. Because if J.D. Vance and Trump get away with this, it will not stop with immigrants.
Here's still to this day, JD Lion Vance and Trump saying, oh, we just can't call and get him back. Are you serious? You're throwing your weight around, terrorizing the entire world with tariffs. You can't get a guy who had protected a literal. This man had his day in court. And let me explain some more things, because I went into more detail about this yesterday. I took us straight through like every court record with an immigration lawyer I love, Aaron Reichlin-Melnick. But when JD Vance lies and says this man was a convicted gang member, what he's referring to was this man entered the country fleeing El Salvador, basically, just not to get too technical, but you know me, I love a court document read. His mother had a pupusa stand, was in a little pupusa stand. She was being extorted by a gang in El Salvador, and they were threatening her and say, either give us your son, he needs to join our gang, or we're going to hurt you and your family. They told the son to flee north, to just get out of there, because they didn't want him to be handed over to the gang. He fled into the United States. He crossed the border illegally in 2016. Then in 2019, he was standing outside of a Home Depot with 3 other people, waiting to try to get some undocumented work, when he was approached by a detective, right? Then one of these people, what it seems like to me in the court documents is one of these other 3 people he was standing with was a CI, a confidential informant, just a paid informant. That person's story was that he was a gang member in New York. Now, just to be clear, this is in Prince George's County in Maryland. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has never been to New York in his life. So, doubt he was in a chapter of MS-13 in New York. But when JD Vance continues to lie and say that he was convicted of being in a gang, what he means is, okay, so from that Home Depot, they were taken into custody, and he had a bond hearing to say, okay, you're going to have your day in court in front of an immigration judge, but do you need to wait in custody, or can you wait out in the world? And at the bond hearing, because the judge the cops didn't believe the confidential informant, but basically like someone said it, so you're waiting in custody. There was no conviction. There was no charge. It was a bond hearing. And then the guy spent a year in custody and did get his day in court. And guess what happened? A real immigration judge said, you and your witnesses have credibly testified. I believe you. You cannot be sent back to El Salvador. You are in serious danger. And if you were sent back, you might be unalived. He is now in a prison with the people that he feared most and fled. He did have a day in court, and the judge says, you have proven your case and have a specific type of protected status and cannot be sent back. And instead of just being decent, JD Vance is now, even today, while the economy crashes, continuing to tell lies. He is a lawyer beholden to the ethics of the bar and will not stop lying. So now that you've heard that story, listen to him again.
Your lawyer hat on for a second, because they're pointing to one of these cases of a gentleman that they said should not have been deported from El Salvador. They said he was not connected to MS-13. What would you tell them about that case? Because they're saying that this is a person that was a great member of society, You've looked at the court records. You've talked to the men and women on the ground. What can you tell us about that situation?
Well, there have been a few cases out there where the Democrats and the media say, oh, this person was just an innocent father of three, and then you find out, for example, I think this is the case that you're talking about. Back in 2019, an immigration judge looked at all the evidence, looked at all the data, and concluded that this allegedly innocent person that we sent to El Salvador was actually a member of an MS-13 gang. He had also committed some traffic violations. He had not shown up for some court dates. This is not exactly father of the year here. This is a person that we don't think should be in our country. Here's the most important point, though, Lawrence, is whatever the argument is, whatever the justification is, no one doubts, not even the crazy left-wing media criticize the idea that we could deport this person. They just took his.
Oh, we absolutely criticize. Every word you're saying is a lie. Oh, yeah, that's what he's saying. Oh, and he had parking tickets, shitty father. This is a man with a nonverbal autistic child, never been charged with a crime in any country, model citizen. And JD Vance is shitting on him, saying he's not the father of the year. People say he is.
With the reasoning for why we deported this person. This was unquestionably an illegal alien. This was unquestionably a person who broke the laws to get into our country. This is unquestionably a person an immigration judge had found had zero right to be in the United States of America.
That is what he just said is 100% a lie. He had his day in court, and an immigration judge said he had every right, had proved his case, and needed to be protected and should never be removed from this country.
We do not ask permission from far-left Democrats before we deport illegal immigrants.
I want to correct that, though. It's not that he couldn't be removed from this country. It's that he couldn't be sent back to El Salvador. Does that make sense? So that's how horrible this is. The one place the judge made the determination, like, this is the one place on earth he could be unalived. We cannot send him back there, is where they mailed him to a labor camp ran by the gangs that he ran away from. The only place they couldn't send him is where they mailed this man back to. And now this is who our vice president is. A pathological liar who has no remorse, no empathy.
We do the American people's business. And again, for the American people who are watching, this is such a weird, mistaken placement of priorities. We need to make our country stronger. We need to create jobs. We need to make our streets safer. What is it about congressional Democrats that get more angry at deporting violent gang members than they do at the victims of those violent gang members? I don't even understand where they're coming from.
Your lawyer hat on.
Shame on you, JD. Shame on you. Look, there's honestly no words anymore when I hear, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to force you to look at how my brain looks. When I hear JD Vance doing this, like, at first I was shocked because JD Vance used to have some sense of right and wrong. Like, it is gone. It's just, I mean, there's nothing he won't say or do any longer. I love this guy. He's like, again, and this is the facts, and this is what we all need to know. Everyone, stop saying he entered the country illegally. It doesn't matter. How the Constitution works is once your feet are on U.S. soil, you have the right to due process. You cannot be disappeared and sent to a prison, a dictator's prison in another country. Everybody is entitled to due process. Everyone gets it regardless of whether the government says they are good or bad. That's how we know if the government's actions are lawful, which is precisely the thing JD Vance doesn't want scrutinized. Stop trying to say he had traffic violations. You denied this man due process. Pam Bondi herself has said this was a mistake. He should never have been sent there. He had a day in court, and a judge said he could not be returned to El Salvador. Yeah, they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to get a couple of these people out. They're also trying from The Venezuelans that have been sent to seek out in El Salvador, they're trying to do habeas corpus petitions to get them out from Venezuela. But no one, as far as I knew, like on Tuesday, we're not sure what's going to happen. Trump could get him out if he wanted to, but Trump does not care about anyone. Oh my God, prepare yourself for this too. J.D. Vance,
I want to
is
stop
awful.
all the ridiculous wars that were started by the previous administrations. There's so much to do, man, and I don't really think that much about what happens in 3.5 years. If I do a good job, if the president does a good job for the American people, and I know that we will, the politics will take care of itself. Let's just do a good job.
Well, when you do decide, you got to make me a promise. It's going to be on Fox and Friends. It has to be. Mr.
We'll
Vice
talk,
President,
man. Thank you
so much. We appreciate it.
Oh, I'm going to make it my life's work that you never become president. You have sold your soul. People won't forget. And like, it's not even personal towards JD. He's just one of many spineless liars. Because tomorrow, if Trump told him, change everything you're doing and saying, turn around and go get that guy out, he'd get him out. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, these are just spineless people. And every single one of these conservatives, like, the immigration stuff is haunting me, but let's just talk. I mean, these people stole our ability to retire today because they don't have a spine and won't stand up to Trump. We can never let any of these people get away with being spineless. Why would... Never. These people stole our livelihood today and are watching while the stock market is in free fall while he's doing this. And he is sitting here lying pathologically while our 401ks dwindle into the thin air. People don't forget, JD. People don't forget. Now let's move on to Howard Nutlick, who is also a special type of liar. Like, they had to march out the real pathological liars today, the real people committed to the constant 24-hour-a-day gaslighting. Because anybody that has half of a spine is like, I'm not doing this. Like, I think it is very telling that Scott Bessent is not doing interviews today. You could see that he wanted to crawl out of his own skin when he was being interviewed by Caitlin Collins yesterday. And I think it is a sign that he's like, yes, someone else get out there. I'm not going back out there.
You're right in the long term, but in the long term, we're all dead. So how long are we going to have to wait for the benefits to come pouring in?
Well, you started hearing it recently when Donald Trump yesterday said we have about $5 trillion of committed investment to America. $5 trillion. That means people are going to start building factories right now. And that means all that construction work begins now. That starts to employ Americans today. You're going to see plants being built, factories rebuilding. All ships are going to be running hot across America now. You're going to see employment leaping starting today.
Do you guys want me to show you employment leaping today? Let's see if it's leaping. Oh, yes. This was just a few hours ago. Stellantis says it will temporarily lay off 900 U.S. workers. You guys, are we tired of being great? Is this leaping into a abyss, into a hole from which employment will never return? Is that what we mean by leaping? Because I don't think employment is leaping anywhere. Jobs leaping into a hole, never to return again. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the people you see willing to do these, like, tell these lies today, you've got to have a special type of, like, a special lack of empathy. Let me show you another example of, the job market leaping. Yeah, it's leaping somewhere. Nowhere any of us want to leap to. I promise you that. Oopsie, sorry. Give me 1 second. You're going to love this one.
Whirlpool announced today it will lay off nearly a third of its workforce in Amana by June 1st.
The company says the cutback of 650 production team members is being driven by consumer demand. Whirlpool is calling it a workforce reduction of approximately 650 employees. The Corridor Business Journal reports the company says that's nearly a third of the 2,000 workers at the Middle Amana manufacturing plant. The company says the cut in its workforce is due to current market conditions driven by consumer demand. But the executive director of the Hawkeye Area Labor Council, which leads the coalition of unions, including the one representing Amana workers, says this is caused in part by pressure from threatened tariffs and economic uncertainty.
These companies are going to react according to what they think they need to do, to continue to make record billions and billions of dollars of profit.
People, we are the first cuts, right? When they don't care about their workers. They're beholden to their shareholders. These tariffs have been imposed. It's the workers. It's the American people that go first. Are you guys tired of winning? Isn't this winning exhausting? Isn't it? It's exhausting, all this, the job market leaping like this. It's just, what's exhausting is the insults to our intelligence. Like, please. That's what I'm saying about the gaslighting. I mean, I have the amount of just never-ending gaslighting that went on to, the job market's leaping. Yeah, Howard Nutlick, keep the lies coming. Tell us another one. Let's get to 250. We're almost there.
I want to see employment leaping starting today.
So if employment, in fact, leaps, and we'll come back to that, it may not help much if prices themselves are also going up. So let's just level with people. In the short term, every economist seems to think the prices will go up. Should people be prepared for that, and for how long?
Well, I think you have to sort of understand how things work. When tariffs come into place, foreign goods may become a little more expensive, but domestic goods do not. So if you're looking at Poland Springs water versus, something, let's say, Fiji water, the Poland Springs is not going to be more expensive. So for the first time in your lives, you're going to actually think about the
just cannot express to you what a lie that man just told. First of all, when in anyone's effing life was Poland spring water more expensive than Fiji water? You're talking about a luxury water product versus a economy water product. So this man is a literal idiot. So this has never occurred. But also, let's just say we're saying the real point he was trying to make. Poland Springs is literally next to tap water. Let's just get the hose out and fill up a bottle, and then you're comparing it to a luxury product. So that makes no sense. But and then on top of, got that wrong. Literally, billionaires are very confused. They don't buy their own groceries. It's like Trump yesterday being like, groceries is a strange word. It's a bag that you put some things in. I have heard it is a word from the olden day. It's like, no, some of us are still getting groceries. Unbelievably rich man. What in the world are you talking about? Aquafina is not good. Dasani is not good. I mean, I don't know. They all taste pretty much like tap water to me. But anyways, the point he was trying to make before he really just, shat the bed with that was he was trying to say, buy American, those prices won't go up. That is a lie, or this man is an idiot. Choose one for me. It cannot be both. Let me help you how economic markets work. When the price of foreign goods rise, so do the prices of domestic goods. The market will bear what it bears. The price is what it is. When one price is rise, they all rise. Oh, you're telling me this is what people will pay for this, and then this person leaves their price, their cost down here? No, that's not how it works. That's never been how markets work. Stop lying, Howard. And nobody wants to drink Poland Springs water. Yeah, Voss is good water. Yeah, if water is coming in a glass bottle, it must be good. The bottle is worth more than the water. Oh, and these are just examples. As I was gathering these clips, because this is it's like a time lapse of the gaslighting starting at 5 a.m. from like 7 a.m. this morning on. Or this is 6:36 my time. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It depends on what time zone you're in. So like 5:30 my time, 8:30 on the East Coast, and it's like a time lapse of the market running. Like the market, all while Howard and JD Vance are pathologically lying, the market is just running, and they're like, everything's fine, so much winning, don't you worry. I can't even believe these people can do this with a straight face. I use Brita too. Brita's great. Brita in an awesome water bottle. Oh, wait. Is it muted? Give me a second. What's wrong with this clip? What have I done here? Is this even a clip? I don't even know what's happening there. So we're going to move on from that. Whatever lie he was telling there. Why is it? I really have no idea.
America will be the most extraordinary, the most powerful place, and Americans are behind Donald Trump. That's why they elected him.
Mr. Secretary, economists clearly are not at the moment. They think this is going to be trouble. Many investors also seem to think it's going to be trouble. We saw the markets crash overnight in the futures market. If the market here in the U.S. opens at 9 a.m. and things head south, is there a red line for you pulling back and saying, okay, hold on, we're going to rethink things?
No, come on. The markets, when Donald Trump was the president last time, he put on tariffs. And if you go back and look at that news, everybody said, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And the stock market, as you heard him say yesterday, up 88% during his presidency.
You understand the insults to our intelligence? We're talking about some steel and lumber and soybean and farming tariffs compared to what he did yesterday. And this idiot, Howard Nutlick, comes and insults our intelligence with that. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Not all of us are as stupid as Donald Trump.
So what you've got to realize is, sure, there's going to be some short-term movement, but this is a reordering of global trade. It's time for America to manufacture again. And I think these changes in the stock market, while they're initial, long-term, you've got to assume, and medium-term, and employment-based, you're going to see America thrive. Interest rates are going to come down, as we said, and America is going to thrive. And that's what Donald Trump is about. He's about employing Americans, building in America, and having Americans be the winners.
Do you guys feel like winners today? Are you tired of all the win? So much winning. We're showing those penguins, though. Those reciprocal tariffs on those penguins, polar bears, that hunk of plastic stuck by those islands off the coast of Australia. Don't you worry. I know, even with Trump effing up the economy before yesterday. Sorry, I'm just responding to someone, to Poffer in Jess in the comments. Yeah, even with Trump messing up the economy before yesterday, they were still going to adjust the Fed rate. Like, interest rates were still probably going to be lowered. There's probably still going to be 2 adjustments this year. They're saying no more adjustments. They're predicting worse than a recession. Meanwhile, Nutlick is just telling tales. Oh my gosh. I want to go for a clip because it's not in the presentation. Oh, yeah, it's worth it because this man's a liar. This is going to piss. Do you guys remember? So if you don't remember who Howard Nutlick is, he's the man who was saying he was having a conversation with 2 other billionaires, and this clip went viral, and he was like, if my mom doesn't get her Social Security check, she's not going to do anything. Like, she's just going to call me and I'm going to send her money. When people who scream because they don't get their Social Security checks, those are fraudsters. His name is Lutnick, but I just realized if you interchange the N and the L, that, just to be clear, name is not technically Nutlick, but last night at 3:30 a.m. when I was listening to economists freak out, it just occurred to me, if you just interchange the L at the end, then his name is Nutlick. So yeah, technically his name is Howard Lutnick, in fairness. But once you hear that Nutlick, I mean, once you say Nutlick once, you can never you'll never be able to think or hear another thing again. So that's where it came from. Just like at 3 a.m, I was like, Nutlick. That's it. Here, I need to show. Wait, let me find this. I want to find. Oopsies. Ew, my computer went to sleep. Give me 1 second. It is worth it. So anyways, he was saying, like, if any person complaining about their social security check not showing up, that's a sign that they're a fraud, because real people don't, my mom wouldn't yell about not getting her social security check. She would just call me. People who are yelling are frauds. And I find that to be some extremely infuriating. Actually, I don't know where this clip is. Well, it's somewhere around here, but I don't know if I have the time to find it. Let me see if I can. Oh, there's the Poland Springs one. Hold on. Oh my God, I have so many clips. Actually, I'll run into it later, but now that I'm looking, I have so many different clips to get to, so I'm not gonna waste my time wading around through clips trying to find something. But just know Howard Lutnick has no soul. He's basically accusing people of, if you ask where your social security check is, you're a fraud. When asked why he said that, he's like, it was taken out of context. It was not taken out of context. That is what you said, and that is what you meant. Oh man, you guys are about to see the most awful thing. So anyways, do you remember how I was saying it's looking like Trump tried to be like at that Rose Garden meeting, like, oh, I've had all these people doing all these formulas, and these are reciprocal tariffs. We've had scientists and economists and mathematicians calculating these tariff rates, and this is how we determine them. And that's not true, right? That's why I haven't slept yet. I was watching economists be like, oh, this is just trade deficit divided by imports, and being like, these aren't reciprocal tariffs. None of this makes any sense. Well, look at this. This is how you know it's really bad. Oopsies. There we go.
Donald Trump used ChatGPT to create his tariffs today that he just imposed on the whole world. That's what the experts on Twitter are saying, is that it appears that Trump used a fake number for the tariffs he claimed each country has on U.S. products. It simply is the trade deficit with that country divided by the total imports to the U.S. I'm going to show you the math. It's really weird, but he totally lied about the percentage of tariffs. Oliver Alexander, for example, did the math. Check it out. Iraq, 78% is the tariff they put on U.S. goods. No, it's not. It simply is the trade deficit with the U.S., $5.4 billion, divided by the amount of goods we import from Iraq, $6.9 billion, 78%. That's what he claims the tariff is that they charge us. And he said they just cut it in half, and that's the tariff we're charging them. Tariffs are taxes on goods. The tariff Iraq charges us would literally be the tax that Iraq charges us on the goods we ship there. It's not the number of imports divided by export. This is crazy. And it appears Trump got the calculation from ChatGPT. This guy asked ChatGPT, and he said to it, listen to this, what would be an easy way to calculate the tariffs that should be imposed on other countries so that the U.S. is on an even playing field? ChatGPT answers, to calculate tariffs that help level the playing field in terms of trade, you can use a proportional tariff formula based on the trade deficit with each country. And then it literally at the bottom gives the formula. Guys, they're setting U.S. trade policy based on a bad ChatGPT question that got it totally wrong. That's how we're doing the trade war with the world. Oh, and by the way, stock market's totally crashing right now. This is
Love that guy. But this is why I didn't sleep, because I was watching like economists in Australia be like, not one of these reciprocal tariffs is based on any of the tariff rates from other countries. These are all lies. And then they're just like, oh yeah, he just made up these numbers. And that's how someone, and I'm not saying it's Trump because I don't even believe Trump knows how to ask Chat GPT a question. I think somebody that works for Trump used AI to come up with this and then just gave it to Trump. And he's like, oh, thanks. Here we go. This is what we're doing now, people. I just really want everyone to grasp like when we say idiocracy, like we are at the bottom of the barrel. The bar is in hell and we're just still digging. When I say the only place to go from the bottom is up, like I mean it. Like I can't even. You should watching economists around the world just be like, well, this isn't based on economics or math. So we have no idea what these aren't reciprocal tariffs. And Trump's trying to convince us other countries did this to us, so I'm doing it back. But that's what Trump doesn't understand. Math doesn't lie. You can't just sell somebody on math because people who can then do math will check your math and be like, yeah, these numbers don't make no sense. And if you watch Scott Bessent, that's why I think Scott Bessent's like, I'm not getting out there again today. I'm not doing more interviews. Last night when Caitlin Collins was like, where does this math come from? Like, and he's just like, oh, he's had like a bunch of people working on it and all this stuff. And it's just, you could just see like his soul was like, oh, get me out of here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be telling these lies. Like, I hate myself right now. Oh, and then I need to show you that Brooke Rollins, when you've lost, Maria Bartiromo this morning was just like, what the F is going on? When you've lost Maria, it's getting bad. This is Brooke Rollins. She's the U.S. Agriculture Secretary. So, like, the reason she's out there lying her face off today is farmers. Like, they're like, short-term pain, long-term gain. Farmers are going to lose everything. Now there's no long-term gain. They will have nothing ever again. Oh, sorry, it's muted.
While certainly the economy will be adjusting, the negotiations will continue. We are really, really excited and very grateful to President Trump's leadership and being willing to be bold and fearless in facing some pretty big policy challenges around the world.
So what is the impact on farmers then?
Well, we'll see, right? I mean, we're negotiating. Now we move into some significant negotiations. I mean, I've got a great chart here. Well,
we'll see. Just running them into the ground. Remember this, farmers. Can you guys please remember he effed you over once, halfway bailed you out, and then you voted for him again. Do you know what I'm saying, though? Like, no one put you all here but you. Because, man, he did it to you once, and now we're back.
So these additional reciprocal tariffs on China, on the European Union, on Japan, they're not taking effect until April 9th. Are you saying that you expect that you will see negotiations around this ahead of that taking effect? And perhaps we'll see a change in these tariffs?
I think that's right. I mean, this is always, listen, the president is the ultimate deal maker. He has been, cutting deals and making deals, first for his companies, the Trump companies, and now for the American people. There is no one better. I saw it in the first White House as his domestic policy chief for 3 years, and then now as the Secretary of Agriculture in the cabinet. His ability to make and cut deals and negotiate is unlike anything I think any of us have ever seen that have been working for a long time in policy.
That's true. It is like, it's unlike anything any of us have ever seen because it's so god-awful and asinine. I mean, in that way, yes, unlike anything we've ever seen, that one phrase I will give you. Can you imagine this is your job to just embarrass yourself publicly day after day and just be like, hi, I don't have a brain. I'm here to carry water for another idiot. And while I'm doing that, just picture this morning. The stock market is in free fall. These people are like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. No one panic. And then look at this. Brooke Rollins next to a ticker showing the Dow down more than 1,200 points. It's a whole new world based on Liberation Day yesterday. It's like the insults to intelligence just keep coming.
And again, it's a whole new world based on Liberation Day yesterday.
Well, President Trump yesterday gave you much praise, talking about the job you've done in the last month and a half.
It is a whole new world. I will give that. Yeah. Oh, this is another one. Like, this is amazing. Because the insults just keep coming.
It's a whole new world based on Liberation Day yesterday.
Well, President Trump yesterday gave you much praise, talking about the job you've done in the last month and a half. I want to talk about what you've done with eggs. National egg prices have declined 9% from last week, now averaging $3 a dozen, according to the USDA. Secretary, we were just talking about it on set. Are eggs going to be tariffed?
Well, so let's pivot to eggs. And the president is so kind. He gives me a lot of credit for that. But listen, we rolled out a very bold plan about a month ago. It's his vision. We're effectuating the plan. The market reacted very favorably to it, included some short-term imports, but also included helping our poultry farmers in America. So as we repopulate our chicken farms and our egg-laying farms, I think we'll see the price coming down even more. But it's come down almost 60% on the wholesale side. The retail side is now catching up. So only good news on the egg front, and hopefully it will hold. Now, Maria, we are going into the Super Bowl for eggs. It is Easter in a few weeks. So, we'll have to maybe make a little bit of adjustments there, but it looks very positive.
So where are the eggs coming from that you're importing?
Well, we're importing from Turkey. We're importing from South Korea.
Now, I just need to correct the lie. So just to be clear, Trump didn't do that. Do you know whose idea it was? Who saw this coming? Well, actually, let me just be clear. Scientists. Biden started buying massive amounts of eggs from Turkey. Biden, under the advice of, actual scientists that were tracking the bird flu. Thank you, Joe Biden, for starting to buy massive amounts of eggs from Turkey. And then Trump just realized, oh shit, I need to do it too. So, yeah, just to be clear, no, Brooke Rollins didn't come up with that. No, Trump did it. The scientists that probably don't have jobs anymore under Trump came up with that idea, brought it to Joe Biden, and he started buying massive amounts of eggs from Turkey. God, these people are just a joke. Oh, listen, here we go.
You've had great progress in terms of the price of eggs, but I guess I'm just wondering, is that progress completely, going back to square one with the tariffs coming? I mean, are you expecting retaliation from these countries who are now facing a tariff that they didn't face, just a couple of weeks ago? Are we now going to see egg prices move back higher because of the tariffs?
Well, all to be determined. The president has said that
they're going to tariff eggs. Like, while the bird flu's going on.
We'll have a little bit of uncertainty in the coming weeks, perhaps a month or two. But, and that's, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, everything's going to be perfect and the prices are going to come down tomorrow, because this is an uncertain time. But that is the president's genius in all of this. He is the negotiating king, and this is part of the negotiating process. And so ultimately, whether that's in a week, a month, a few months, that all Americans will feel the benefit of this effort that he's undertaken, which God bless him. He's one of the few that's bold enough to do it.
What? So you're telling me that Biden came up with the plan of buying massive amounts of eggs from Turkey? Trump is now taking credit for said plan. And when he heard, oh, is this how Biden was keeping the price of eggs low, even with the onset of bird flu? We better do it too. Takes credit for it. Now, after stealing someone else's good idea, is going to tariff the eggs coming from Turkey, so the price of eggs is going to go back up. That is not genius. That is idiocy. That is pure, unadulterated idiocy while we all sit here and she's like, isn't he so amazing? No, he's an idiot, as are you. We're all sitting here with just dying from secondhand embarrassment for you, but you keep going. Dear, this is like worse than North Korean people talking about Kim Jong-un. Well, this is when Maria's like, yeah, I've got to hop off this train really quick.
But look, at this moment in time, with the market down 1,238 points right now on the Dow Industrials and the NASDAQ down 800 right now, and the market's not even open, futures indicating a very ugly opening, now would be the time for some clarity on extending the tax cuts. So where are you on that?
Well, a lot of people didn't think the House could put the budget instructions together. I do believe that John Thune and the Senate, we're going to get to their budget instructions, and I'm hoping by Mother's Day, we're going to have, that would be the fastest I think we can get there, but we could have a proposal that could be voted on in both chambers. We know there's urgency.
But look, at this,
literally, the market's crashing. Do you guys know who raise your hand in the chat if you know who Dr. Richard Wolff is? This man is one of the four. He used to be, before Robert Reich became our de facto cult leader. If I ever was part of a cult, I knew you would, Toodle. It was the cult of the economist Richard Wolff. This man is a true genius. What is he? Is he Harvard educated? Or, I mean, he's been to he's got like 2 doctorates. I mean, he's been to like every school. I think he's at the new school now teaching. He was at like University of Massachusetts Amherst. This is one of the most brilliant economists in the world. If you don't know, I'm going to start peppering in more, because when I saw this come up in my algorithm, I was like, God, why I haven't not been putting enough Richard Wolff into our diet. So this man is, you like Robert Reich? Oh, the brain power coming off this man is something to behold.
Explain exactly. You're a professor, you're a teacher. Most people don't even realize how tariffs work.
Okay. A tariff is a tax. It's just a particular tax that got that name. It used to be called import duty. All it means is when something comes into the United States that was produced outside and is brought in to be sold, it has to pay a tax, literally as it crosses our border into our country. It is paid by the American company that brings it in, which may pass it on to the consumer, usually what happens, and the tax goes to Uncle Sam. It goes to Washington. Mr. Trump loved to suggest that tariffs were paid by the others, a little bit like Mexico would pay for the wall. Never happened. It's not going to happen here either. It's an American tax. And there's something remarkable that clues you into how big a change this is, that the Republican Party, which has branded itself as the anti-tax party for a century, is now imposing the most massive tax imaginable. Why this big change? Because we have big, big problems, and this kind of slapping the rest of the world is an attempt to solve a little bit of them, but it is not going to work because we don't have the power.
Professors start being rounded up, they'll get him first. This is one of the foremost, I mean, in terms of like, I don't like to attribute the idea of communism or like socialism to white men, but I mean, this man is, when I first learned to love Marx, it was because it was taught to me by Dr. Richard Wolff. Like, he is a student of Marx. I mean, this man's a brilliant economist, quite truly. And, Marx spoke German. He speaks German. So like his understanding of Marx is next level of owning the means of production. Like, don't worry, we're gonna learn more about Richard Wolff. It's like when I saw him today, because this just randomly popped up, and I'm like, why are we not learning more from Dr. Richard Wolff? So it's coming. Just hearing the cadence of his voice, I get excited because I remember like him teaching me about socialism. Just, the man is a mother effing genius. Oh my God, this was a good one. Listen to this. Let's get to 300K.
Sarah, you don't believe, though, the theory that it's just about getting rates down? That's really all it's about? Because you've heard it. I'm sure you've heard it. Everybody wants to talk about that.
They're getting the rates down.
That's it.
They're getting
Burning
the rates
down
down.
the house to cook a steak. That's the line.
I think if you have followed President Trump since the 1970s, it's been the trade ripoffs, and this is very consistent with his views.
Right.
Burning down the house to cook a steak. That is isn't that a great analogy for what Trump is up to? Burning down the house to cook a steak. CNBC, watching them today, it's like super interesting. This is Steve Mnuchin. This is now Scott Bassett, who I was not seeing his face after yesterday's disaster interviews. This is who ran the Treasury for Trump the first go round when he let Goldman Sachs take over the Treasury.
I think it's the larger tariffs that are called the reciprocal tariffs. I'm hopeful that those will be negotiated down, that those are tariffs that will bring people to the table and will negotiate.
Here's how he said those are called reciprocal tariffs. Remember when I was playing you the clip of the book that's coming out of people that used to work for Trump saying he was an idiot? One of the people that are quoted is Steve Mnuchin saying Trump's an idiot. It's him.
Them down. Now, for many businesses, it takes a while to move the manufacturing base. Apple's announced big investments in the U.S. That's going to take a while. I hope the president will consider giving people credits for those people who actually have made real commitments, not just announcements, but real commitments to build in the U.S., because there's a transition period here that needs to be adjusted to.
Yeah. Stephen,
what he just said was when he says didn't just make announcements, real commitments to build in the U.S., because that's all Trump did in his first term and continues to do, is he would say, oh, this Japanese, remember SoftBank and what's his name? Yoshi, something, it starts with an M. It's a Japanese guy that is the CEO of SoftBank. And they're like, it's that Foxconn in Wisconsin. They're like, oh, they're going to build something and billions of dollars of investment. None of it ever panned out. That's what he's referring to. He's like, yeah, he's like, we need people not to say they're going to do something and never do it. We need people to actually do it, because that's what Trump does. Big on the press is it Matsuyoshi or Matsuyoshi? It's something like that. Yeah. But he's used to be the CEO of SoftBank. But yeah, well, you recognize him because now the AI facility. So Trump did it once. It was a grift. They're like, oh, billions of dollars of investment coming down the pipeline from SoftBank and that guy. And then never happened in Wisconsin. Now Trump did another press conference with him, like literally the first week he's in office. Oh, AI and the data centers being built in Texas, alongside Sam Altman, the OpenAI CEO. And then DeepSeek came around and basically like, we're going to spend billions of dollars on something and there's a better product. I mean, the entire AI industry has been upended by DeepSeek. It's got a large language model that runs better with less energy. Like those data centers in Texas, I don't know what the actual no, that's not his name. Now that we're just misspelling his name, I have to look up this guy's name because I just need to know. Hold on, we'll know soon. Masayoshi-san, yeah. Masayyoshi, Masayoshi-san. There we go. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what we're doing. And then Trump's like, well, you will run those data centers those AI data centers on clean coal or what? Like, Trump has no idea what he's talking about. And yeah, who knows if that whole investment will ever pan out. Brian, thank you for subscribing, because like I said, DeepSeek runs with much less energy, is a much better model. It's exactly. Texas needs to worry about its own power grid. That's why it's so confusing. Oh, clean coal is yes. Clean. So what are the comments? KH12 is like clean coal. Yes. Question mark is the correct. Trump keeps talking about clean coal. Yes, it is an oxymoron. It makes no sense. It is not a thing. He's stuck in the 80s and the 20s. It's like he can't decide if he's in like the 20s or the 1980s. He's like, we're going back on coal. Get the kids in the coal mines. It doesn't, none of it. Yeah, he keeps still talking about clean coal. He just says words that mean absolutely nothing. Like, and one of his clean coal. Like, say what now with clean coal? Thank you so much for subscribing, Brienne, Penelope V subscribed. Okay, because I'm just sorry. I just read that. If I didn't say it before, thank you. Oh, this is another good one. I love these. I could watch this all day.
A 17% reciprocal tariff put in place yesterday. So the biggest question from here is exactly how countries start to retaliate and then whether the White House looks to strike any deals. But the posturing at this point is that they're just not open to it at this point. Guys?
It was what I was going to ask you, and I am surprised to hear it because a lot of these rates are very high. And I guess the question from here, Megan, is just what the pain threshold is for this administration. I know they say they're not watching the stock market, but we're down 4.75% right now on the NASDAQ. And the economy, like, okay, there's an adjustment. We could have a recession, but I'm not sure that they would want something deeper than that.
Yes, I think you're right. I'll have to head inside and see what network they're tuned into this morning in Upper Press. Sometimes that gives us a signal. They're going to say that they're not watching the markets. They've been saying consistently for weeks now that that's not what the president cares about. And of course, they did roll out this plan knowing full well that it was going to hit the markets, knowing that there was a lot of concern out there already.
And the point was to short the market. Just know when your 401k disappeared, some hedge fund, some billionaire who had the capital to take a huge position and bet on this dip took your money, right? And Bella, I saw your comment. I know what you're talking about, the 7-part tweets about the tariffs. I almost screenshot it because I love me some Chris Murphy. I know he's busy and he was with oh my God, Cory Booker. For a second, I couldn't remember his name, on the House floor, and he's been doing a lot. But I miss his videos. I almost did screenshot that, but I was like, make a video. Oh, I do have a Chris Murphy video. We can watch it. I did find one, but I didn't screenshot that stuff, but I did read it. I'm always on Chris. Chris Murphy is great. I'm really impressed by him. Great communicator, doing big things. Oh, I love, like I said, I love Aaron Rupar. He's one of my favorite independent journalists. And you can tell what he's doing. He's like, of all the things that didn't happen, this is the thing that didn't happen the most. Back to Nutlick.
Yesterday, I was talking to a trade minister of a big country. And I said, look, we can't sell cars in your market. You've got to do something to change that. It's obviously unfair. And at the very end of the conversation, the trade minister dropped his head and said these words. He said, fine, we will provide your car manufacturers the same subsidy we provide ours. Just think about that for a minute. So,
who was it? You liar. Like, he's turning into Trump. That was a Trump. Was that not a Trump? Like, it's like Caroline. Like, the more time these people spend around Trump, he's doing his own. And he said to me, sir, I'll unalive someone for you. I forgot to show you guys this video when they were confirming Raising Cane, who's Trump's like nominee to replace the new Joint Chiefs of Staff, and they were asking like General Raising Cane, like, did you say this to Trump? Did you in the battlefield like put on a political hat and tell him, sir, I'll unalive people for you? He's like, no, absolutely not. Like, anytime they start telling one of these, and then the man came to me and he said, it's like, oh, here we go. With tears in his eyes, exactly, Charlie. With tears in his eyes, and he said, sir, and it's just like, now even Nutlick is doing it. Please stop. Like, he came with tears in his eyes, and he said, "Sir, nobody said anything to any of you. People are laughing at you all. People are either laughing at you or they are in literal disgust. Nobody is coming to you with tears in their eyes saying anything. Nobody's making deals with you. Yeah, time out, Nutlick. Take a 5. You're doing the most." We're almost at 300K. Thank you guys so much for your support. This is my Cash App and Venmo. All the research I do, all of this work I do, and based on your generosity. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for support. I'm also trying to get back to 400 subscriptions on TikTok. If you would like to support me in whatever way you can, please do. Or just tap the screen. Tapping is clapping. Nutlick is on a prolific lying spree.
Or being fair, what would you say to the United Kingdom? Or what would you say to Australia, where we have a trade surplus, where they could look at us and say, we're the winners of that competition, and yet we are going to tariff them?
Well, look, they each have the lowest rate available, right? I mean, if
he's saying we just hit him with the flat 10%. I just want to explain to you what is happening. Trump is a basic, unintelligent mob boss from Queens. And what he's doing is just, the basic leverage racket, like protection racket. That's what's happening. Like 10% on all of you guys. If you want to operate a business, you want to do business with me, I'm taking 10% off the top, not to hurt you guys. Like, this is a basic, mob boss from Queens, unintelligent protection record. He has the lowest rate available. Oh, hey, what he just said was, hey, be happy, UK. We're only extorting you for the lowest possible amount. We have a trade surplus with them. So let me just help MAGA, because I know you guys cannot follow a line of logic. By this logic of, if we have a trade deficit, these people owe us something, and we got to go get it back and make it fair. Well, then we owe these people something. If your line of logic was sound, then we owe them something. But for some reason, you're sitting here saying, no, they still owe us something. That's not how logic works. Methinks thou doth protesteth too much. These people have no idea what they're talking about.
They could look at us and say, we're the winners of that competition, and yet we are going to tariff them.
Well, look, they each have the lowest rate available, right? I mean, if you really dissect these the trade numbers that are made publicly, I mean, the United Kingdom, part of their trade surplus is that they have the London Metals Exchange, and they count the importing of bullion. I mean, come on. So, I mean, if you really dissect these things.
All rare metal imports count in trade. What, if you really count rare metals, yes, we do, Nutlick. What are you talking? That's like being like, do you really want to count uranium? Yeah, I'm sure Argentina does. What does that mean?
Realize they have a 20% VAT, okay, and these things, but they work hard.
So we don't have a trade surplus with them. They're raping us too.
Well, they have a. If you looked at them and really studied it, you'd see they have a goods deficit with us.
Or being
no, they have a trade surplus with us. Stop it, Nutlick. Like, nothing is ever good enough. Like, it's just, but they still deserve it. We're just gonna extort them anyway. It's like, what? Just say it. You guys are mob bosses extorting people. Just say it. Just say it. Just say what you're doing. This has no logic. One of your interns used ChatGPT and came up with this, and now you're all up here trying to explain it like it makes any sense. KH12 to 120 Dreamcatcher, thank you for subscribing. Awesome to have you here. You're amazing. We appreciate you. Join the crew of people that hate idiocy. We can't have a war where we can't get oh my God, I just remembered this clip. It's like, Howard Lutnick, does he even understand how stupid he sounds? I'm sorry, Nutlick. I forgot.
We can't
That's my fault.
allow the United States of America to not produce steel. We can't allow the United States of America not to produce pharmaceuticals. We can't have a war where we can't get antibiotics and we have to call another country to make a missile or to make a plane. I mean, these are obvious things. We need to have domestic production. We need to employ Americans. And I think that is the model that Donald Trump is seizing on. We need to employ Americans for the good of the United States of America. Factories are coming back. And
I'm sorry, kid. Someone help me. Do we produce steel? Do we produce pharmaceuticals? Is big pharma ruining our lives? What are you talking about? I'm sorry, do we have a war machine? Do we have the industrial military complex humming along? I think, like, of all the things you could have said, those are the things we have. Like, yeah, except now they're all firing people. Like, what? It doesn't even. That's what I'm saying, Dan. Everything he happened to list in this thing, yeah, those are the things we actually are doing. So we're very confused.
Here's the key. Factories now can use robotics. And so American workers can be much more efficient with robotics. You're going to see the greatest surge in training for what we call tradecraft, teaching people how to be robotics mechanics.
That's what. Did you guys hear that? Destroy the Department of Education, ruin equity and equality in education. People who have capital, you can get real educations at universities. People who can't, you guys will. The rest of us will be fixing the robots. Like, I can't. Jesus Christ! They're not even pretending. They're not even pretending. That's like Linda McMahon outside being like, we're going to have our doctors and engineers, and then we're going to have our plumbers and electricians. And it's like, I wonder who or whom. Let me see if I can figure out who will be who. And like we were talking about yesterday, like there's not master electricians, master plumbers, master carpenters. Like that doesn't require like, I mean, it's an idiotic thing to say, period. But that's why I guess we'll be fixing the robots. Hopefully when the robots kill everyone, they will like us more than everyone else. Oh, I love this. Look at how pissed Aaron Rupar was this morning. He was like checking in on how Fox Business is covering today's market crash. And look what they're doing. Presidential debate was a disaster for Biden. They're still doing it. Like, Biden is gone. Trump did this all on his own to everyone. And they're talking about the debate where Biden had COVID this morning. They need somebody to blame. Who, like, they're running out of time. I mean, let's be honest. They have run out of time to blame Biden, but who will they blame next? I mean, then again, we're still blaming Obama. So never underestimate how much time you have to blame someone for something. Obama will be blamed post-mortem for things. Michelle, thank you so much for the $25. Hearts to you. You're amazing. Thank you for always being here and supporting me. Time's up for all these idiots, for sure. Oh my God. And did you guys see, just not to pivot from Nutlick's failures this morning, but this is insane. So, like Signalgate, and it turns out Mike Waltz has been using Gmail to like personal Gmail on his personal phone for National Security Council business. And instead of holding Mike Waltz accountable or being like, hey, Pete Hegseth, like you're sending out war plans in a Signal chat, and it turns out you have your wife in NATO war meetings in Europe, and like that's a violation. She has no security clearance and is not a government employee. Instead of holding the people accountable, apparently Laura Loomer went and met with Trump and said she was suspicious of 3 National Security Council staffers who they feel aren't real MAGA, they're rhinos, Republicans in name only. And so they've found 3 human shields to throw under the bus. Now, you tell me, did these staffers suck up that Jeffrey Goldberg's contact into Mike Waltz's phone? No, nobody did that but Mike Waltz. But they have found some human shields to throw under the bus. Laura Looney. So that's funny, Victoria. Laura Looney said they can't be trusted. So just to be clear, a crazy woman has identified 3 sacrificial lambs to take the fall for Waltz and Hegseth. So don't worry, guys. They've steamrolled these people. Yeah, this is their solution to what problem? How does that help Mike Waltz stop using Gmail? Could someone help me understand how that's going to make Mike Waltz not conduct National Security Council business on Gmail? Because I think I'm personally not getting it, but Mac is like, see, problem solved. Laura Loomer chose 3 random people and now they're gone. So again, this is just more Night of the Long Knives stuff. Like, and again, if you're in here, you're like, what the F is that? Oh, thank you, Danny B, for subscribing. I appreciate it so much. If you're like, what the F is the Night of the Long Knives? That was Hitler in Germany, early Germany. And people often thought like, oh, that's when he's going after his enemies and like getting rid of them in the middle of the night. No, it was the true believers, right? It was the schmatzy socialist party. And unfortunately, there were some real people in that party who thought, oh, we're all going to own our own means of production and we're going to share in the wealth. And Hitler had no intention of doing that. So he had to oust the true believers. And not just to quote Margaret Atwood, she's like, someone tell the rhinos they're the true believers in this analogy. And that's what's going on. The people that won't pledge their undying loyalty to dear leader Trump, these are the ones who are being ousted because they're a little too smart. They know the Constitution they can read a little too good. Do math a little too good. Those are the ones that have to go, the true believers. Yeah. I mean, war's tough, but yeah, you can read. I mean, imagine Laura Loomer making these decisions. Like, Laura, mother effing Loomer. Let's just give up on ourselves.
National security implication here. So I'm behind the president 100%. There'll be disruption and pain on the front end. We saw.
It's that simple. This is Representative, what's his first name? Arrington? Is it Brendan? What's this guy's name? Because add him to the list of people that have to go, right? Like, all these people need to be voted out. These people without spines who are like, yeah, I have no question. Like, nothing's wrong with what these people are doing. Like, these people all have to go. Representative Arrington. Does anyone know what district this guy is from? Why is my mouse doing this? I'm gonna look it up. Representative Arrington. Oh, Jody. Dude, God, he looks bad. He's having a rough day today. Jody Arrington. Oh, Texas's 19th congressional district. Gross. Texas Tech University, Plainview. That explains it. That explains the blind, dumb loyalty. There you go. Oh my God! It just got worse and worse on CNBC.
More sophisticated now.
I'll just ask you straight up: what do you do on a morning like this?
Well, I wouldn't panic, and I certainly wouldn't hand wring or complain, and I'm seeing a lot of that these days. I think we have to analyze it as a stagflationary shock, something that we expected in a somewhat milder form this year. We thought that growth would just slow and inflation would prove sticky. Now it looks like growth will be a little bit weaker than just slowing, and inflation would be a little bit higher, depending on the permanency of the tariff arrangements.
Yeah, they're projecting the economy to actually contract by what is it now? Like 3.8%. Stop lying, sir. That's the nicest way to say we are in a free fall of which no one knows if it will or will not end. Like, it's fascinating. Watch these people try to run cover for Trump because that's the nicest thing you can possibly say. Oh, and you know what? I need to show you. Speaking of that, since he mentioned price shocks and stuff, like, because I couldn't really make the connection because in a way it's like, of course he'll hang the American people out to dry. He doesn't care if we all go bankrupt and lose our retirement. He doesn't give a fuck about us. But I was like, what's in it for corporations? Like, why would corporations back this when it will stall consumption, right? Like, I was reading the JP Morgan prospectus on this and it's beyond grim. Like, there's like by Q2, Q3, there will be no expendable income to consume things anymore, which would grind the American marketplace to a halt. And I was like, why would corporations sit silently and let this happen? But I saw this paper, which I'm going to read the rest of. I haven't had time to read the whole paper, but I have it on my phone now. Implicit coordination in sellers' inflation, how cost shocks facilitate price hikes. This is our God, Robert Reich, reposted this. If you don't know, and you're just joining, our de facto cult leader, he doesn't know he is, but he is Robert Reich. He's Clinton's former labor secretary. He's now a professor of economics at UC Berkeley. He reposted this woman citing this paper, and I was reading it. This paper is qualitative and quantitative research saying that tariffs, price shocks like what Trump did yesterday, run cover for CEOs to hike prices on consumers for long periods of time to come. They're fleecing us. It's the same thing that happened in the pandemic with the pandemic, the price shocks of the pandemic, the rising inflation ran cover for them to collude and keep prices high together. Yeah, I mean, it's all because I was like, I mean, help me understand what's in it for corporations. Oh, it's all science. It's all right here in qualitative and quantitative research. They're going to use this shock. He's creating almost an artificial pandemic. You know what I'm saying? They're going to use the shock of this to be like, Trump messed up the economy so much, prices need to stay high for a long, long time. Yes, this is a scam, Alicia. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And the science, this paper is the qualitative and quantitative research and the numbers, math and science. That's why Trump's got to be like, oh, we're not doing science anymore because he doesn't want people, understanding how things work. That's the qualitative and quantitative research to back up that this is an effing scam. And Robert Reich just posted it. Love that man. And I found it, and now I get to read it tonight. Well, actually, I'm going to need to take a nap tonight. But then after that, I'll read it. But that's the general idea. Yeah, this is a scam. Because I just couldn't see it. I'm like, you're going to drain the disposable income of the consumers that these businesses need to consume things. What's in it for them? Oh, long-term price increases. This is a literal scam while we all sit here and have our intelligence insulted. It is unbelievable. Let's move. I'm going to just go to Greg Starr because I think we get the point. I have literally like 10 more clips of Nutlick lying, but I mean, I think we're all grasping now that he literally spent like 8 hours this morning just going from network to network telling a bunch of lies. I want to play this interview from Greg Casar, though, because he's the chair of the Progressive Caucus in the House, and he was on, I think, MSNBC this morning.
That you see you can do?
What we can do is speak out, build up the pressure, and get to the point where we just get 3 members of the Republican majority to stand up.
Remember I said we need 3 This is what I was talking about. Like, what can we still do? How can we affect change? That's at least, because I was like, we need a solution. I can't like play the clips of being gaslit all day.
3 members of the Republican majority to stand up and do the right thing. Just this week, we heard that the Republicans are starting to get nervous about their plan to cut Medicaid in order to pay for billionaire tax cuts. We've got to amp up the pressure. Just now, we're hearing Donald Trump is starting to get nervous about Elon Musk continuing to slash so many federal jobs. We've got to amp up the pressure. The jobs report here that just came out for the month of March, we had the greatest number of announced layoffs last month in American history since the pandemic. The only other time we've had that number of layoffs announced was during the pandemic. And so the economic pain and the increased prices that Americans are feeling, Democrats in the minority need to be bold, speak out and say, we have a plan for actually lowering prices. And that means holding big corporations and big CEOs accountable for price gouging, not these reckless blanket tariff plans from Donald Trump that are not actually meant to bring jobs home.
Yeah, and understand what I just showed you was a qualitative and quantitative research paper proving that the point of these tariffs is to create to create price shocks that run cover for long-term price gouging and price fixing. That's what this is. It is a mother effing scam. And this weekend will be like, there's more protests scheduled around the country than ever before. Look up protests. Cool duck. Sorry, that's my ADHD. That's I'm a child deep down. But that's what we need to do. We need to, last night I just placed like 50 calls to Congress people. We need to call. You don't need a fax machine. There are apps you can fax from. They have to legally read all of this stuff. We need to harass our Congress people, especially in the House. We need to pressure these people to stop this nonsense as hard as we can. We need to make as much noise as we can. There's so many protests going on. We can do it.
Maybe you'll get some help. So this isn't to help the American worker. If it was, that's what the plan would clearly show. But what the plan is come cut a deal with Donald Trump, just like we saw, for example, with Mark Zuckerberg here this last week. The Biden administration was rightfully looking into Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's companies, for abusing American consumers, taking advantage of American small businesses. And now Zuckerberg goes and cuts Donald Trump a $25 million settlement check. Next thing you know, he's got invited to the White House. So Trump, on one hand, is telling reporters at your network that he doesn't care whether prices go up for the American workers. He said he could care less. But what he does care about is what people that donated to his campaign think, people that could cut him a check personally think.
Yeah, and I want you to think about it. Like when I say this is a basic Queen's mob boss, it's not a smart plan. Think that's what he did. I want you to think about how he canceled all the US aid. Then he wants countries to come to him and beg for it. He can't. He's He's cutting off all government grants. He wants governors from states, representatives from districts to go to him, cut a deal, and beg for it so he can leverage them. That's what he's doing with these tariffs, causing pain to all of these countries and say, come and beg me for a deal, right? I mean, it's kind of the basic, it's the same logic. He wants them to come and say, sir, so he can make up with tears in their eyes. I mean, that's what he wants. That's what he wants. He wants to cut off resources from everyone, which is illegal. The appropriators of funds are Congress. Cut off everyone's resources, right? Cut off FEMA money. Oh, there's a natural disaster. Come here, California. You install voter ID laws so we can gerrymander and and that turn California red. Or sorry, you can't rebuild your houses after the fire. Right? I mean, yeah, cut off funding from universities, come beg me for it back and let's cut a deal and I'll tell you what you need to do to get it back. Exactly. That's exactly what he wants. He wants to leverage everyone, every single partnership, because that's all he sees. Narcissists are transactional. All he's thinking is, who can I leverage? Who can I exploit? How and when? That's all he's doing, is cutting off everyone's resources and saying, you want them turned back on? Come to me and let's well, I would say negotiate, but it's not negotiating. It's, I'll extort you. I'll leverage you. This is transactional, malignant, narcissist 101. Like, hello, I was raised by one. Oh, this is kind of a pivot, but this is Marjorine's gross current boyfriend, Brian Glenn. This is the gross man who told Zelensky in the Oval Office he needed to put on a suit. Listen to he's on he works for Real America's Voice. He might even be an executive. I think he's an executive there, which is a gross Trump network. They were talking about the proxy vote, right? Like Anna Paulina Luna, if you're a new parent, man or woman, or non-binary in the future, but whatever your gender, because now I think about it, I don't like that they're trying to say gender is binary. That's gross. Whatever your gender, whoever you are, if you have a new child, you can vote by proxy for 3 months. Well, this is what gross Brian Glenn had to say about this.
Yeah, well, the mood is when 96% of Republicans are against the proxy voting, because what this does, and let me explain this to you. The Democrats have already introduced measures to expand the proxy voting into maybe if you're treating cancer or any type of illness. But think about this for a second. It would also open up the possibility for someone like Nancy Pelosi or any other long-term Democrat or Republican to sit in a nursing home at 100 years old and vote on policies that affect you today. So we have to be very careful what we allow members to do in terms of proxy voting. I'm not a fan of it at all. I think we've told the American people to get their butts back into the office.
Yeah, I mean, I can't go into how dumb this is, and I've gone through the statistical analysis of telework. The most uneducated, dumbass position you could take on earth is get your butts back into the office. If you do statistical analysis on telework, your business will be healthier. You'll have a wider talent pool. They will take less time off. They will remain longer. They will be happier. They will be more productive. You will spend less on real estate and office space. You will save the environment, less on travel. Every single measurable metric says your business will be more successful. I'm not talking about service-based business if you need to go to people's homes. I'm saying if you allow people to do telework. So the get your butts back in the office, that was just a plan by Russ Vought to fire people. Whenever they're about to do stock buybacks and they're going to fire a bunch of people, to hand the shareholders more money at corporations, and they're going to just, cut a bunch of workers. They say, get your butts back. That's how the first round of cuts go. Get your butts back to the office or you're fired, right? That's all they're doing, is firing people heartlessly, because the actual numbers around telework is your business will be more productive, more successful. You have a better talent if telework is a part of your plan. That's just about private equity cutting jobs. Like Republicans, and he says it like he's doing something. And by the way, Mike Johnson's voted by proxy 37 times. Please stop acting like people don't vote by proxy. I've literally had it with these people. Oh, I have that clip of Chris Murphy at his town hall. Yeah. And Chris Murphy did a town hall, which I don't know why he didn't post more clips. But when I was reading, I was looking, I always look like, because Chris Murphy posted more videos, because I love he's a great teacher and communicator. Well, he had a town hall and a veteran was talking, and I think it's a really powerful clip and a good camera.
Senator Murphy.
Can I just comment on the excellent sound system and camera work at this town hall? Like some of these town halls that, you know what I mean? They have the sound system is so god awful. You can't even hear what people are saying. Like this is some This is a nice sound system and camera.
So I live here in Stamford,
Connecticut.
Senator Murphy. My name's Patrick Cummings. I live here in Stamford. I'm a military veteran. I served in the Air Force from 2009 to 2013. The actions by the Trump regime and Elon Musk have disproportionately affected and will continue to affect veterans. As we know, they make up a third of the federal workforce, and they're losing jobs just every single day. Plans to cut, I think, 80,000 jobs at the VA by August. The suicide hotline employees were indiscriminately fired for God knows why. And this is going to certainly continue to affect veterans going forward. It's only going to get worse, I imagine. And I just wanted to state that healthcare and service-connected disability compensation, these are not entitlements. These are benefits which we earn through our honorable military service and injuries sustained in the line of duty. And the VHA delivers health care for those injuries and diseases that disproportionately affect veterans.
So let me just say what you said again in case people didn't hear it. Veterans make up 30% of the federal workforce. They are 5% of the private sector workforce. They are 30% of the federal workforce. And when you fire everybody who is a probationary employee, you are predominantly firing veterans. You are firing young veterans, veterans who just came out of the service, who transferred to go do another job in the federal government because they want to keep serving. And just because they are a young veteran, they have all of a sudden been laid off. And so this mass firing, which, by the way, has been stopped for the time being by the courts, has a disproportionate impact on veterans. The very people that we should be lifting up and giving preference for federal jobs are getting disproportionately fired by this policy.
Yeah, we'll tell that to the HHS. But I love that. Great town hall. We need to get better sound systems at all town halls. Oh, I already talked about Whirlpool. Sorry, I forgot I had that screenshot. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to end the live an hour early or a couple hours early because I have not slept, and I've been live since 5 in the morning, my time, with facts. But I want to leave you. It wasn't that interesting, but I need to show you something kind of funny. Lauren Boebert had I want to make sure I have the right. Yeah. Lauren Boebert had a town hall. Not a town hall, because if she had a town hall, there'd be clips, but she had a virtual town hall. But the reason you're not here, it's like a virtual phone town hall is what I could say. And the reason you're not seeing more clips is because it's like she wouldn't have conversations with people. It's like she would verify that people were her constituent. She would let them ask a question, but you ask a question, they'd hang up on you. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no discourse. She's a coward. Well, I mean, she's not smart enough to have a town. Can you imagine Lauren Boebert doing a town hall like that? I can't even picture it. But I just want to show you this one clip. Just let me give you an idea of what you're about to hear. So at Lauren Boebert's teletown hall, a small business owner asked the congresswoman what she was doing to save the post office from privatization. Boebert responded by telling a story about how she pet coyotes as a child. I cannot do it. I literally cannot do it. Anyways, conservatives or something else. This is your representative.
So let's take this last question. Yes, absolutely. We will have this recorded. I can confirm that. And man, my goodness, you're right, Congressman. We had so much great participation. I am blown away, but let's sneak one in here. Thanks so much for going along with us. We've got Mary in Strasburg. Let's get you live on the line with the Congresswoman. Mary, you're up.
Hi, my name is Mary, and I am a small business owner in Strasburg, Colorado, and we depend heavily on the post office for our business. And I understand that there's efforts being made to privatize the post office. The post office is in the Constitution as a service to the people, and if the post office is privatized, I'm sure that rates will increase and it will be less accessible. What are you doing to save the post office for us small town business owners?
Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, thank you so much for investing in your community. I love Strasburg. I have a funny little story about Strasburg. When I was 9 years old, we went on a little school trip to a student's house that had moved there, and it was kind of our first trip like out in the country. And we came from Aurora and went out there. And I kind of got separated from our group, and I thought that there were two dogs that I had approached and was petting, and then the rest of my group came up behind me, and they were like, "Lauren, stay away, like stay still, and like come here." I'm like, "What's going on?" Yeah, they were coyotes. Crazy story, but that's my Strasbourg memory as a child.
Yeah. Girl, what? Exactly. Like, oh, dear God. And she did that constantly, but like, you can ask a question, you cannot follow up and be like, what the F are you talking about? Because like, she never answered anyone's questions. That's why it's not interesting. Or I also don't believe these were her real constituents. You know what I'm saying? These were people that she, like, they had pre-screened the questions too. A lot of them were like, oh, like, you're doing a great job. It was ridiculous. Watching the news and swearing. Yeah, absolutely. I concur. But on this note, hopefully one day, hopefully the midterms, people will vote Lauren Boebert out. I think I'm tired of her being in office. Once I saw her this week mistake Roger Stone for Oliver Stone in a congressional hearing, I think that's when I had it with her. She has no business at Congress. And I just want to be clear. I know people that didn't graduate high school that are extremely intelligent. She's just not one of those people. Like, period. No, she didn't answer any questions. Like, Lauren Boebert is for the privatization of the post office. And just to be clear, the farther you live from a city center, if the post office is privatized, the more you'll pay. And again, that's the irony of people from rural areas electing Trump. That's what these people are going to pay exorbitant amounts for mail if this happens. Think of the post office just like Social Security. They're trying to break it so they can privatize it. That is exactly what happens. And the people that will suffer the most are people in rural areas. Period. Just like when they break Medicaid expansion and Medicaid and hospitals close in rural areas. Like it's the same thing when they break the Department of Education and public schools close in rural areas. And these are the people that blindly support this man, and they are going to be privatization no bueno. Anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. We're almost can we get to 350K? But I haven't slept and I've been talking on the internet since 5 a.m. I've made it to 3 p.m. and I think it's in my best interest to eat a sandwich and get some sleep so I can see you guys tomorrow so we can finish out Friday strong. So I will be back tomorrow for the People's Receipts, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. 2:30 Eastern. Thank you guys so much for 350,000. Thank you guys so much for all your support and donations. And thank you guys for just being the most amazing community. I love hanging out with you guys every day. It is literally the best job I've ever had in my life. It's a pleasure. I shall see you guys tomorrow after I'm better rested, even though slightly manic Felice is an interesting person. But I'll see you guys on the flip side.